Chapter 1, Cassie's POV. It was a typical day. I came home from training, leaving my boots at the door, and walked over to Mom, kissing her on the cheek. Except it wasn't a typical day. Mom was on the phone. Now, what's odd about that, you ask? It's not the fact that Mom was on the phone that was odd. The fact that she was about to cry made it weird. My mom never cries. I set my backpack down next to the nearby recliner before sitting in it. I must have looked confused because as soon as Mom ended the call, she started talking. That was your grandpa. He called to tell me that he and Mom finally got the divorce. Babe, he wants us to come for a visit, she says after hesitating for a moment. Mom, can you handle that? Is he gonna be there? I ask, referring to the alpha of the pack. Or at least he was when Mom left with me. She was 1 month pregnant, and he was supposed to be her mate. However, he rejected her. He hurt my mom, and I don't want her around him. Yes, I can handle it. Besides, it will be good for you to meet your grandfather and uncle. And last time I checked, he was still alpha, so he will probably be there, she said with a chuckle. Why does your dad suddenly want to be in our lives? I ask, completely confused. He couldn't stand the thought of being around us for 17 years, and now he suddenly wants to be there. Why? He wasn't the one who, you know what, we can talk about it later. Can you go pack and call in so they know you aren't going to be at training? Yes, ma'am, I say, walking away irritated. Hey, I love you. I love you too, baby girl. I go upstairs, start packing, mostly tank tops, and make calls. Before too long, I'm packed and have called off training for the next 2 weeks. When do we leave? Tomorrow at noon. He wants to see me as soon as possible, my mom said, not looking at me. Does he know I exist? I ask my mom, trying to catch her eye. Well, no, but I didn't tell anybody. He rejected me, and my mom disowned me. I just never got the chance to tell anybody from there, she said, still not meeting my eyes. I get it. Hey, I'm gonna go for a run. I'll be back before midnight. I say, slipping my shoes on. Running always helped me relieve stress, and I need that right now. I understand why Mom didn't tell anyone about me, but seeing him makes my skin crawl. I've heard so much about him. He was cruel when he got angry, and he was a player. I can't stand the thought of that man around my mom. As I run through the forest of the pack territory, I hear the stream nearby. I stop by it and take off my shoes. Sitting in the woods with my feet in a stream is the most relaxing. So, that's exactly what I did. Lying back, I close my eyes and take a deep breath. The moment I close my eyes, I see a pair of eyes looking back at me. I know these are my mates. A werewolf has one mate. If, like my mother, your mate rejects you, you can be paired again. The moon goddess, Luna, is a very considerate being. She understands heartbreak. If, like my mother, you choose not to find a new mate, your mate will forever be tied to you. Before you meet your mate, however, you see their eyes for a month before you meet them. I've seen them for 2 weeks, so I should meet him soon. I dozed off, and the day had dramatically changed when I reopened my eyes. Moments like these are when I'm glad I wore shorts and tank tops for training. I hadn't changed yet, so the lines shouldn't be too visible if I tan. I get up, put on my socks and shoes, and head back home. Looking at my watch, I see it's only 10:25, but I'm hungry, and we're having the alpha over for dinner. I know I'm probably late, but I'm more relaxed, and usually dinner with the alpha gets tense. There's never really a reason. It just does. I walk up and see the alpha's truck already here. However, it's still warm, so they haven't been here long. When I walk in, I see them sitting on the couch, talking to Mom. I nod to them and go upstairs to shower and change. It takes roughly 5 minutes to do the above, and after changing into a tank top and some shorts, I head back downstairs. I'm quickly greeted, and we all sit around the table. So, Alpha Liam, I was contacted by my father and would like your permission to go visit the Black Moon Pack. My father and mother divorced, and he would like a chance to get to know me after all these years apart. I would, of course, take Cassie with me and let her meet her grandfather and uncle, my mother says with the utmost respect. Liam looks at my mother and then at his wife, Lily, whose eyes have swallowed her head. She looks from my mother to me and back to my mother before speaking. Ari, darling, are you sure you're going to be able to go there without being in extreme pain? You know what could happen, right? Lily says, looking at my mother with a deep look of concern. Though they were basically the same age, Lily had been a better mother than my own grandmother. I like to think of her as my aunt, and she never disagreed. She encouraged it. I assure you I am fully aware of what could happen and am prepared. I know I can handle it with Cass at my side. My mom said. Does he know she exists? Alpha Liam asked, looking at my mother with caution. He does not. She'll be 18 in less than a year and can decide if she wants him to be in her life. I won't stop her, my mother said, still using her business voice. I don't. I say quickly, knowing they heard me. Then I have no objections to you visiting your brother and father. On one condition. Alpha Liam says. Yes, I say in sync. The Hidden Moonpack house is less than 30 minutes away from the Black Moonpack house. I would much prefer you stay there. I know the previous Alpha and his son have taken over. They would gladly accommodate you, he says, looking at my mother and me with his hand from Aunt Lily. Of course, Alpha. My mom says. Then you have my permission. When do you plan on leaving? He asks a little more at peace. Tomorrow at noon, Mom says. We'll be there to wish you off. Please be safe, dear. Alpha Lily says. I always am. My mom says, hugging her. Dinner passes by quickly, and the adults talk over coffee, but I head off to bed, dreaming about a beautiful pair of eyes. Chapter 2 Cassie's POV. Well, the morning passed in an uneventful blur. We said goodbye to Alpha's Liam and Lily and boarded the pack's private jet. Turning off my phone was the hardest thing in the world. Not because I was addicted to it, but because I was expecting a call from the coordinator. That's what we called him anyway. He organized all the street fights for werewolves. I just called him Joe. That was, after all, his name. The plane ride takes about 10 hours with a couple of layovers, and I can't wait to stretch my legs when it's over. Even on a private jet, sitting for that long is still a pain. And don't even get me started on the food. School food tastes better than that stuff. When we finally land, I jump out of the plane dramatically and start doing flips and cartwheels while my mother rolls her eyes. She's used to my antics and loves that I'm so spastic. The sarcasm is very heavy with this one. We head inside the airport only to be met by two friendly faces holding a sign with our last name on it. I look at Mom, who has a small smile as we saunter, because who walks, over to them. I presume you are the Alpha and Beta? Mom says, looking at the gentleman before us. The Beta and Gamma, ma'am. The Alpha had business to attend to, the blonde one said, smiling. I'm James, the Beta, and this is Riley, the Gamma. Nice to meet you, James. I'm Ari, and this is my daughter, Cassie. Mom says, holding out her hand while I do the same. Cass for short. I say whilst shaking hands. All right, well, if you'll follow us, we have a car waiting for us out front, Riley said. He's not bad looking. Neither of them is. James is about 6 feet 2 inches and blonde with brown eyes, while Riley is 6 foot exactly and has red hair and green eyes. Neither of them is older than 25. That much is clear. I wonder what kind of business the Alpha had to take care of. Mom asks me through a mind link. Probably getting permission to enter Grandpa's pack. I respond. Maybe, but the first time we go in, we're going alone. I don't care if they go in with us after that, but we're going in alone at first. I want you to meet your grandfather before we bombard him with people from another pack. She explains. Yeah, no, I get it. I say as we get in the car. So, what is it like in the Risen Moon pack? We haven't been in a while. James asks. It's really nice. The fight squad has greatly improved recently, and the scenery is truly fantastic. Mom says, looking at me when she talks about the fight squad. I train the noobs and train with the elites, so she takes significant pride in me. Really? I heard the fight squad has a new trainer who joined them just last year. Have you met them yet? Riley asks, looking back at Mom in the rearview mirror. Actually, yes. You have as well. You just don't realize it yet. Mom says, making eye contact with him. Really? James asks. It's me, I say. I'm not one to play dumb or coy. I like to say, I'm not Willy Wonka. I don't sugarcoat. Seriously? You'll have to show us some of your moves then. Riley states, we've had a rough year. The teacher we had died with his mate last year, and we can't find anyone to take his place. Sad, really, but he was getting old, and he only had daughters. They both found their mates, and they aren't so keen on them fighting. So who's been teaching the training? I ask, confused. Surely you haven't been dormant for a year? Of course not, but we only had some of the older teaching the younger, but none are as good as him, James explains. We talk about some other nonsense for about 30 minutes before we arrive at the pack house. The smell of fried chicken immediately greets us. We had the pack cook make you a meal because we assumed you'd be hungry. A usual Southern dinner includes my mother cut James off before he could continue. Not to be rude, but I grew up 30 minutes away from here, and I know that doesn't make much of a difference. I like Southern cooking too much to live without, so Cassie grew up in it. We know what a Southern meal includes. Of course. I'm sorry I seem to have forgotten. He said, blushing. Mom, that was rude. I'm sorry, baby doll, but I'm tired and hangry. I just want to eat, not hear about the food I'm gonna eat. It was still rude. Apologize, please. I'm sorry. That was awfully rude of me. I'm just tired, and I get cranky when I'm tired. Thank you for being so kind and prepping a meal for us, Mom said, being sincere. It's truly nothing, James said, blushing once more. We enter the house, are given a tour, and are shown our rooms before we are told to get settled in, as dinner still hasn't been done. I decided to shower because I smelled too much like other people. After a brisk shower, I quickly dressed in a simple gray V-neck t-shirt and black skinny jeans. Putting on my boots to mid-calf, I go downstairs to see my mom already there and talking to an older woman. There she is. This is my daughter, Cassie, Mom says to the older woman. I call her older, but there's no way she's older than 40, if that. Hello, dear. I'm Cassandra, but you can call me Cass. I'm the current Alpha's mother. It's very nice to meet you. I'm Cassie, but most call me Cass, so I'm sorry if I respond when you're the one they intend to speak to. I apologize in advance. Oh, and they even may be talking to my husband. His name is Caspian, but most people call him Cass, so it's always confusing around here. She says, laughing. Well, this is going to be interesting. I say, giggling. We have dinner and talk briefly before Cassandra says it's time for bed. Being the head of the house, everyone listens. After heading to my room and changing into my pajamas, a black cami, and some teal and black shorts, I lay down. It's been about 2 hours of restless rolling around when I decide to get up and get some water. There is only one in the morning, so why not? Chapter 3, Cassie's POV. We have dinner, and then talk briefly before Cassandra says it's time for bed. Being the head of the house, everyone listens. After heading to my room and changing into my pajamas, a black cami and some teal and black shorts, I lay down. It's been about 2 hours of restless rolling around when I decide to get up and get some water. It's only 1 in the morning, so why not? Making my way quietly down the stairs and to the kitchen, I retrieve a glass and, as quietly as possible, get myself a cup of water. After I finish my water, I rinse the glass and set it upside down on the drying rack before I hear a slight noise that I recognize as footsteps. Obviously, they are the footsteps of someone trying to be quiet, and they're doing pretty well, but I'm better. I quietly turn around and walk towards the edge of the kitchen in time to see a figure round the corner to the living room. A moment later, I hear the distinct sound of a body plopping onto a leather couch. I hear the body move around a little bit, judging by the sound of skin on a leather couch, and after a minute, it finally settles down. Obviously, the body is not an intruder. They would have woken the whole house. I smell something familiar, but can't quite put my finger on it. Perhaps it's raining on a hot day? Though not quite. Deciding I'll ignore it for now and investigate later, I go to head back upstairs when a freaking floorboard squeaks. This catches the body's attention, and it sits up if the sounds are anything to go by. Knowing I've been caught, I don't bother to escape and turn around. Running would wake the whole household, which I would like to avoid. Who's there? The voice asks in a whisper. I can now identify that it's definitely a he, and he's exhausted. I don't try to answer, but instead, I make my way to him. He meets me halfway, and it takes me only a moment to realize this man is my mate. And I'll be honest, I could do worse. His breath catches in his throat, and he looks over me as I do the same to him. Oh yeah, I could definitely do worse. He's about 6 feet 4 inches with short blonde hair and very well defined. Now, here's the kicker. He has heterochromatic eyes. One of them is emerald green, and the other is oceanic blue. They are gorgeous, and I could look at them for hours. His lips are plump, and I'm certain his jaw could cut paper. That's how sharp it was. Looking over his face again, I notice that he still hasn't let out the breath he was holding, and he seems to be biting his tongue. You okay there? I ask quietly, not wanting to wake the whole house. Just trying not to be cliché. He says, taking a deep breath. So, can we talk? Like, go sit down and maybe get to know each other. I ask, and see him visibly relax as if he were worried he'd be rejected. Yeah, that's wonderful. How about the living room? He suggests, sounding nervous. We walk to the living room and sit facing each other on the same couch. Both of us are sitting cross-legged on opposite sides of the sofa. I guess we should introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Cassie Mora. I'm 17 and visiting with my mother from a different pack. We're visiting to see some long-lost family. I say, I'm Axtragast. I'm 18 and the alpha of the pack you are staying with. It's an honor to meet you. Your alpha speaks highly of you. He says, taking my hand, which I had outstretched, and bringing it to his lips for a kiss. His eyes haven't left mine since we sat back down. Sorry about all the staring. I can't help but feel this is a dream. That's the only place I've been able to see your eyes, and I can't help but be mesmerized. I know how you feel, but I do need to talk to you about something. I say, okay. He says hesitantly, I'm not rejecting you, so get that thought out of your head, I say, and he responds with a deep breath of relief. I am, however, warning you that now may not be the best time to accept you. I've got a lot going on at the moment, and when I do accept you, I want to be able to give you my full attention. I grew up being taught that your mate is the most important thing, and I want to be able to act on my teachings. I would never reject you, and I would love to get to know you, but I would also like to keep our being mates secret for the time being. So let me make sure I got this right. Your reasons for coming here are too complicated for you to accept me as your mate for the moment, but you will, publicly, once everything is solved. He says he is stopping for me to confirm, which I did before continuing. And you don't want to tell people because I don't want them to think I'm rejecting you, and for the moment, none of them need to know my mother's business here. As far as your pack knows, we're visiting family and staying here because our alpha requested it. I say, my mother will explain more if she wants people to know. Can I know how much deeper it goes? He asks. He's earned that right as my mate, the alpha lending us his home, and for accepting our circumstances. I was the product of a one-night stand between two mates. My father, the very next morning, rejected my mother. The reason we're staying here is because my father is the alpha of the pack. We don't know how he'll react because my mom was scheduled to move shortly after the event anyways, so she just got permission from the previous alpha to move. She was studying medicine in our current pack when she found out. Her mother had always hated her, and when she found out she had been rejected, her mother kicked her out of the house. Her mother and father recently got divorced, so we're coming to visit. Does anyone in her old pack know you exist? He asks with a look of shock on his face. Nope. Mom didn't even know she was pregnant till she got out to Oregon, and she didn't call anyone because she didn't really have any friends out here. I say with a shrug. We sat around and talked for another few hours before becoming too tired to continue. We agreed to meet here again tomorrow and get to know each other. I got up to head to my room, but stopped and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek before turning and sauntering upstairs. I seriously hope this wasn't just a dream. Chapter 4 Cassie's POV last night was one of the best nights of sleep I've had in a very long time, even though I only slept for about 4 hours. It seems it doesn't matter how little sleep I get the night before. I'm still gonna wake up at 5 a.m. Oregon time. Luckily for me, it was 8 a.m. in North Carolina and a decent time for them to get up here. That was actually the time they had breakfast. Good morning, ladies. I hope you slept well, Cassandra said. We most certainly did. Again, thank you for your hospitality. My mother says she has always been one for extreme manners. I can gladly say I inherited most of that trait. Wonderful. And it's no problem. I hope you wouldn't mind joining us in the dining room. My husband, son, and father-in-law have returned from the business they had to complete, and we're having a big family breakfast. That sounds wonderful. May I ask who will be in attendance? My mother asks, probably trying to determine whether we should change out of our pajamas. Most of my family, including my oldest son and the beta and gamma. My oldest son no longer lives with us. Actually, he's just returned from college. He has a house just down the way. I thought you said your son was the alpha? I ask, butting in for the first time. Yes, my second oldest son, Axe. He took over because my oldest son said he didn't want it. He's never been a big fan of power. She says with a small smile. I'll be honest, hearing my mate's name caused a shiver to run down my spine, which I had to suppress. That makes sense. Will we get to meet him? We have a few things to discuss. My mother informs her. Yes, but for now, please join us for breakfast. She says and leads us to the dining room from last night. In it, 3 people, 2 boys and a girl, sat in a row. These are 3 of my children. My oldest, Ryan, my only girl, Emily, and my youngest, Easton. She sits down in the seat to the right of the head of the table, leaving the head of the table and the seat to her right open. The 2 seats across from her are also open, as well as the head of the table on the opposite side and the seat to the left of it. Cassandra's sons are on one side, and her daughter is on the other side, the opposite of Cassandra's. The beta and gamma are on the same side as Emily, leaving the only seat open beside Ryan at that end. My mother walks to the head of the table on that end, and I walk to the seat next to her and stand behind it. My training has led me never to sit until my superiors are seated. We soon hear footsteps, but not that hard. They're essentially stomping into the room. The first stompers to appear was an older-looking man Cassandra rose for, and when his eyes looked into hers, they started to shine with love. One can only assume that's her mate, Caspian. He's not the worst-looking creature, and pretty handsome, but I must say that Axe looks way better. Speak of the devil, he comes, judging by the smell of rain on the hot pavement. An odd smell, but all of my best memories have happened as it's begun to rain. He walks in wearing a pair of sweatpants and a white v-neck. It shows off his muscles, and I have to do my best not to stare. We only met hours ago, and the mate bond is killing me. He smiles and nods to his family, my mother, and me before standing behind his seat. His seat is across from his father's, who is to the right of his mother's. While I was admiring my mate as subtly as possible, the last of their party entered. It looks over to him respectfully, and he can't help but react. Grandpa Whiskey? I whisper in shock. He looks at me confusedly for a moment before recognition alights on his face. DP. He responds and opens his arms for a hug. I can't help but run into them. He's the only person I've ever been childish around. My mother walks up to us calmly, poised as ever. How are you two? How long has it been since the last time I saw y'all? We're good, and it's been a little less than 10 years. My mother responds as he wraps an arm around her, never letting me out of his embrace. That would explain why I almost didn't recognize my little beauty right here. My gosh, how you've grown. You're almost prettier than your mother, he says, kissing me on the forehead. Well, what brings y'all here? Whiskey? Why don't we let them eat first? Cassandra butts in. Of course, he says, motioning for me to take the seat between him and Axe, and of course, I take it. Mom returns to her initial seat at the opposite head of the table, and the food is served. After a hearty breakfast, all the officials, my mother, and I went to the office and started discussing everything. She told the story of how she was rejected and left pregnant, and we discussed how this was going to work. We also argued a bit about how my mother and I would go alone on the first day, and the boys could join us on the second and any subsequent day, but we eventually agreed. In other words, Mom said we would go alone. We argued for 10 minutes, and then Mom and Axe agreed that the boys would drop us off at the meeting site and then return, but we were to go straight there and straight back. The rest of the day was spent conversing and catching up, and everyone forgot to ask us how we knew Grandpa Whiskey, so I suspect that, upon our return, that will come into question. I also stayed up late talking to Axe and getting to know him more. It was a good day. Chapter 5, Cassie's POV. The next morning, I awoke at 5 a.m. and went for a run. It wasn't long because I had stayed up so late talking to Axe, but I needed to be energized to meet my long-lost family. Today, the Beta and the Gamma will take us to the border and let Mom talk to the Alpha. Then we'll go straight to her father's house and straight back when we're done. However, Mom keeps talking about this little ice cream shop she loved and wants to see if it's still open. We're at the door and at the meeting point before I can thoroughly register what's happening. The Beta and Gamma get out before us and greet him before coming over. While the Beta gets back in the driver's seat, the Gamma opens the door for my mother. She gets out, and, for a moment, a look of utter shock crosses his face, but he's quick to mask it. His whole position has tensed, and I can tell his wolf is fighting for control. They talk for a moment, and he looks at the car, the windows of which are tinted, and asks why they haven't left yet. Mom explains that they're waiting for her to dismiss them, and they disrespect each other for a moment more before Mom motions for me to get out of the car. I close the door, trying not to show my face yet. When I finally show him my face, his eyes almost swallow his head, and his mouth falls open. "Who is this?" he asks, the shock finally dissipating. It's obvious I'm related to him, but I think he's either in denial or wants confirmation, which would be the easy way out and not dramatic at all. And that doesn't sound like my mother. "This is my pack's best warrior," my mother says, knowing that's not what he was asking. "Who are her parents?" he says through clenched teeth. "Why does it matter?" Mom asks purposefully, attempting to irritate him. "Answer the question." He says he is getting more irritated and fulfilling Mom's wish. I see her lip twitch, and I know she's trying not to laugh. "I'm just glad I learned how to school my face." "You answer mine," my mother says, letting a minuscule smile slip. "Dang it, women. I asked you first, and I'm an alpha," he says, trying to pull that card. "You may be an alpha, but you're not mine," she says. I see him flinching ever so slightly. A look of sympathy passed through Mom's eyes just as quickly as he flinched, but they were both gone before the human I would have been able to tell. "Why must you be so stubborn, woman?" he says, taking a step forward, getting in her face and adding a growl to his voice. "Never speak to my mother like that," I say, stepping between them and adding a growl. I may have been tired of their childish arguing, but no one gets to speak to my mother like that. "So she's your daughter," he says, addressing my mother from around me. "Who's the father? Why does it matter?" I ask my mother. We don't often speak in sync, but when we do, it's creepy. He growls in frustration before taking a deep breath and speaking again. "Do you even know who the father is?" he says, and I release a deep growl. "Her eyes are an interesting color, aren't they, Cole?" my mother asks, indirectly answering his question. My eyes are the same shape and color as his. It's obvious he's my father. He looked me in the eye for about 2 seconds before huffing and running off. After he's gone, Mom motions for the boys to leave, and we make our way onto the territory. Mom points out things here and there as we walk the path to her father's house, and though she may never admit it, I can tell she misses her home. The walk is shorter than expected, and before long, we're walking up to a 2-story house. The house is an odd shade of yellow, and the window sills and door are an odd shade of blue. It truly is a rather interesting house, and judging by the look in my mother's eyes, it has always been that way. While there is a look of familiarity in her eyes, there is also a look of pain. Her mother hurt her greatly. It's a tale she's told me many times. I suspect some of those memories will be replaced with better ones now that her mother has run away. We get up to the door and knock on it gently. It takes a moment for a man no older than 35 to open it, but then again, we are werewolves, and we age more slowly. Ari? Is that you? He says, his voice a deep baritone sound, almost tearful. His eyes are glazed over with unshed tears, and he looks shocked to see her. Andrew, it's good to see you again, Mom says with a slight smile on her face. Andrew, who's at the door? A voice says. This voice is a little more gruff and obviously older. I can only assume that that would be my grandfather. My uncle pulls my mom into a hug, and I see a few tears run down his face before he buries his face into her neck. If Alpha Cole were here right now, he might throw a fit at another male, putting his face near her neck. Then again, I suppose he wouldn't care, seeing as how he rejected her. Ari, the grave voice says, now much closer. His voice is also slightly tearful, and Mom pulls back from her current hug to look her father in the eyes. Hi, Dad. That was all she got out before being pulled into another bone-crushing hug. You never called to confirm, and I thought for sure that that meant you weren't coming, and I would never get the chance to tell you how sorry I am for everything I put you through, and he says, breaking into sobs and stuttering out what he could. SHHHH. It's okay, Dad. It's okay. I didn't get the chance to call back. We got permission and started planning the trip out here. Mom explains, rubbing his back like she did to me when I was younger and sad. What do you mean we? Andrew asks before looking in my direction and wiping his eyes. My grandpa, whose name I've not been told, looks up and sees me through his tears. He straightened up and wiped his eyes before looking at me fully and then back at my mom. And who might this be? He asks my mother. This is my daughter, Cassie. These are your grandfathers, Marcus, and your uncle, Andrew. Boys, my pack's strongest warrior and my pride and joy, Cassie Mora. Mom says with a smile that shows nothing but pride and love. I can't help but smile at the look on her face. I'm an uncle? Do you know who the father is? Andrew asks Mom, probably not thinking about how bad that sounds. Mom gives him a look that says, really? I just realized how bad that sounds. Sorry, Ari, I'm just in shock. I mean, we weren't even pregnant when you left. You were never socially active, just really focused on your career. You must have met your mate then. Marcus says, is he here too? Probably somewhere. He rejected me the night before I left. That was just before I was supposed to leave for the study program, and the next morning Stella disowned me. At that point I had no reason to stay, so I just asked the Alpha if I could permanently move out there. Once he heard everything, he agreed. I plan to visit him tomorrow and thank him for everything he's ever done for me. Mom explains and pulls me into a side hug. Explaining this has always been hard for her. I have always been her lifeline. He's in this pack? Marcus asks, looking affronted. Honey, you didn't have to come back. Had I known, I would have never asked you to come here. Why didn't you tell me? I've long since gotten over it. The Luna above blessed me with a piece of him to allow me to get through the rejection. My mother says and kisses my forehead. Why don't we head inside? Andrew says. Everyone agrees, and we head inside. Thank you so much for reading. Please inform me of any mistakes you might see, and most importantly, have a nice day. Chapter 6. Cassie's POV. The house is much nicer inside and has obviously been taken over by men. Probably the two in front of me. We all go to the living room and sit on the leather couches. I'm sorry, Cassie. I have been insulting. Please tell me a little more about yourself. My grandfather says, speaking to me for the first time. I don't hold it against him. He's only seen his daughter for the first time in 18 years. Nothing is interesting about me. I'm our pack's strongest warrior. I like to run, and I've been asked to teach the warriors of multiple packs, including the one we're staying at while on our visit. I state, there truly isn't much to tell about myself. I spend all my time training to defend, and my guard is rarely down. Even now, I stand with my arms crossed and my feet placed shoulder-length apart. Always on guard, I hear my mother mutter. She also loves to read and will spend many hours down by the pond near our house, reading and soaking in the sunshine. She's brilliant at art, and though she'll never admit it, she loves children. I have no quarrels with admitting my love for children. It's just dangerous to admit to enjoying the presence of something so defenseless, especially when you have enemies and no way of defending them. I say, looking at my mother. You have no enemies who would dare go against you, much less attack the children you often take care of. My mother says with a roll of her eyes. So you often take children under your wing? Andrew asks with a hint of amazement in his eyes. Yes, I'm very much like my mother in that aspect. I say, feeling my lip twitch in a momentary millimeter smirk. We spent the next 3 hours talking and ordering Chinese for lunch because we were all too involved in cooking, and the boys wouldn't let Mom cook. It got to the point where we were laughing, and I had to sit down a lot. I was still on guard, but I could relax a little. And then, at about 12, we had a visitor arrive. Andrew got up and came back with an older-looking man. He looked very similar to Alpha Cole, and I can only imagine they are related somehow. Alpha Jason? My mom says and stands up. Ari Mora. The last time I saw you, you were getting ready to leave for your big future. What are you doing round these parts? Jason says with a cheese-eating grin. Circumstances have changed. I'm back for a couple of weeks to reconnect with my family. My mother left, she says, hugging the older man, who is her older alpha. So did you accept Luna's offer for a new mate? He asks, looking down at her from the hug. His face only shows concern, and I suppose he doesn't have anything to worry about at his age. No. I ended up with a piece of him, and I never would have been able to move on. Not that I really want to, Mom says, coming over to me with a smile on her face. This is the first time the older man looks at me, and a shock comes across his face. He stares into my eyes momentarily, and I see his gloss over. I get not being able to move on. Who's this? He says, though I feel like he knows the answer. Jason, meet your granddaughter, Cassie Mora. Mom says with sadness and joy in her eyes. It's an odd combination that makes me want to hug her, but I know she would prefer I didn't at this moment. Granddaughter. I hear my uncle and grandfather ask at the same time. You didn't tell them? Jason asks, looking at my mom in confusion. I didn't want them to hate their alpha for a decision he made when he was a teenager. Mom says with a shrug. It was a decision that ruined my baby girl's life. Marcus growls. Yeah, he hurt my sister. I have a perfect reason to hate him. Andrew agrees, looking extremely upset. I agree that his decision was entirely stupid, Jason says, looking upset with the situation. This is exactly why I didn't want to tell you guys. I've gotten over it and don't regret anything. That one night gave me the best thing I ever received. She's the only thing that kept me going through it all. So no, I don't hate him and I don't regret it. My mom says, looking at me with pride. Besides, you both hurt her in some way when she was growing up. Did either of you try to stop or defend her when she was disowned that morning? I say, and they both look down in disgrace and sadness in their eyes. Does he know? Jason asks. He met her this morning and blatantly asked who her family was. He was made aware that I'm her mother, and her eyes give away that he's her father, but I don't know if he's truly registered that she's his daughter. I expect to hear from him at some point so we can have a sit-down with her involved. My mother says, as long as you have made some effort to make him aware. Jason says with a concerned look on his face, am I going to get to meet your mate? I ask Jason. I've already lost one grandmother, and I'd rather not lose the other one. Sadly, she was attacked by rouges last month and has been in a coma. He says with a look of sadness covering his features. Oh no! My mother exclaims, will Luna Angie be okay? She's stable for the time being, but she's also still healing from a major head injury, so it'll take a little longer. He says with a gentle smile. Am I correct to assume I have her eyes? I ask, looking him in the eye. Yes, you have my beautiful angel's eyes. My son also has them, so I can only assume you got them from him, he says, and his mom nods. I'm sorry, love. I know that must be hard. I don't think of them as his eyes. I think of them as my daughter's eyes and Luna Angie's eyes. Mom says with a shrug. Well, I've got to go. I've been away from my angel for too long, and my wolf is getting antsy. I'm glad to see the prodigal daughter returned. We'll have to get lunch one day before you leave. Just the three of us. Jason says, opening his arms for a hug. Mom runs into his arms, and I stand to the side and shake his hands when Mom finishes her hug. It's about time for us to get back. We promised we'd be back for dinner, and it's a little ways away from here. I say, checking the time. We all say our goodbyes and head back to the meeting place. I text the boys and tell them to meet us at the meeting point. 3/4 of the way there, we see a gray blob run by us, and I hear Mom's breath catch in her throat. We made it to the meeting, but the boys were not there yet. We hear a rustling in the bushes behind us, and even though I know it's just my father, I still stand between my mother and him. We need to talk. He demands as soon as he comes out of the bushes. He's only wearing basketball shorts. You can tell he's just shifted from how gruff his voice is. I know Mom is trying to maintain eye contact, and it's a struggle for her, so I help by answering for her and stepping up so she can see less. If you truly believe that you need to have a conversation with the doctor standing before you, please schedule an appointment, and she'll get back to you in a timely manner. I say in a monochromatic voice. I feel a hand on my shoulder and know it's my mother. Cole, until you can stop trying to use that alpha tone on me, we have nothing to talk about. My mother says, stepping forward. We have a very valid reason to talk, and she's standing between the two of us. Literally, I mean. He says, adding on that little bit at the end. And again, until you learn that the alpha tone will never work on me, will not meet, she says as the boys pull up. She turns around and walks to the car, and as she climbs into the back seat, the boys climb out. I go to turn around, and as I do, I hear him say something under his breath. What was that? I ask, looking at him as he looks down in shame. Please. His voice breaks a little as he says it. I nod to him and look up in time to see it. I can see relief flash through his eyes. I turn, walk to the car, and get into it, and we drive off, leaving him there. Mom leaned her head onto my shoulder, and I started to run my hand through her hair in a comforting way. She closed her eyes and soon fell asleep. She'd had a long day, and too many emotions were flowing through her. She deserves the nap. Chapter 7, Cassie's POV. When we return, I carry Mom into the house and lay her on her bed in the guest room. I set up an alarm to wake her up in an hour, and then I went to Axe's office to give him a rundown of everything that happened while we were there. Hey, how'd it go? Axe says, opening the door wider for me to come in. Whiskey, Caspian, and the beta are already in the room. It went pretty well. I can now say I have been introduced to my father, both of my grandfathers and my uncle. Luckily, I didn't have to talk to my father much. I got to know my grandfathers and uncles pretty well, and they seem like pretty okay people. Just like we discussed, we went straight to the house and straight back. No problems were encountered. But I do have to talk to my mother about having a civil conversation with my father. I say, giving them a simple briefing. Do you think she'll go for it? Whiskey says gruffly, not liking the idea of Mom being upset. I think she will if I ask it of her. I wouldn't want to upset her either, Whiskey, but I also think that he deserves a chance to talk to her about the subject. I say, looking at him. Mom always gave me the choice to meet him, but now that he's met me, I want to give him the chance to understand why I stayed away. It's only fair that I give him a slight chance actually to meet me. It may be the only chance he'll ever get. I'll tell you what. I'll bet the one accompanying you tomorrow, and if your mother agrees to it, we'll meet him at a small cafe on my grounds so no one from his pack has the opportunity to stick their noses where it doesn't belong. I can link the pack to stay away from the cafe for a little while, and we can have a private conversation. He can use the excuse of coming to see me so fewer questions are asked. Axe says, leaning back in his chair and putting his feet on his desk. That sounds good. I'll talk to Mom about it when she gets up from her nap. Is there anything else we need to discuss? I ask. You said you met both of your grandfathers. Does that mean that you met your father's father as well? Axe asks with a raised brow. Yes. He heard that my mother was back in town, and he was the only one who knew about her rejection and the fact that my father was her mate. He didn't know she was pregnant, but then again, neither did she until she was already in Oregon. He is extremely disappointed in his son for rejecting my mother. His family always loved her, and if it hadn't been for her being rejected, they would have taken her in and let her continue her doctor career in the pack. I say, a bit of sadness leaking into my voice at the thought of all that my mother went through. Your mother is very brave, dear. She was and always has been a very smart girl. She'll make it out of this with the best outcome. She always does. I mean, she got you. Whiskey says, coming over to hug me. I smile at his shoulder. Guys, time to wash up for dinner. Cassie, sweetie, your mother woke up. She says, thank you for the alarm. Cassandra says, knocking on the door. We'll be out in just a minute. The rest of you can go ahead and head out. I just want to talk to these two about the plan for tomorrow. Whiskey says, clapping Axe and me on the shoulders. Just don't take too long, Whiskey. Caspian says, giving his wife and made a nice kiss. I make no promises. He says with a smile and closes the door before the smile is wiped off his face. All right, children. Sit. We both do, and with raised brows. Now how long do you two plan on hiding that you're mates? How do you know? Axe asks, sitting up in his chair. I know what a pair of mates looks like. Whiskey says, but I know the truth. You heard us talking one night. I say. Why are all the adults around here so dramatic? Well, that too. He says with a shrug. When everything is calmed down, when Mom feels more at peace with everything, then we'll tell people. Until then, we're taking time to get to know each other. I say, explaining our predicament. I agree, Axe says. Have you kissed yet? Whiskey asks, looking between the two of us. Not yet. Why? Axe asks, furrowing his brows. If you two don't soon, your wolves are going to freak out and start pushing you two. Eventually, they'll take over and at least kiss. It's a way to ensure that you are not rejecting each other. Whiskey explains, looking between the two of us with a grin on his face. You said at least kiss. Do you mean they may do more? I ask. They wouldn't mark each other. At least not without human consent, but that doesn't mean that they wouldn't officially accept each other in the eyes of Luna. Whiskey says, guys, dinner is getting cold. Cassandra shouts up the stairs, and we all stand and head down for dinner. Dinner went by relatively calmly, with very little discussion. Everyone was so busy enjoying the food that they simply forgot that words were a thing besides the occasional compliments to the chef. After dinner, most of us went back to the office, and this time, my mother joined us. We did a quick recap of everything discussed before dinner and filled Mom in on all that had been discussed. Now for the fun part. Mom, I say to get her attention, and she hums in response. I think we should meet with him. You should explain why you never told him about me, and I could get a chance to explain why I didn't want him in my life. I never wanted him to know I existed, but now that he does, I don't think it would be fair to keep me from him without an explanation. I understand where you're coming from. I'll do it for you, my love. I assume you already have a plan, she asks, and I nod before Axe takes over talking. The plan is to invite him over to a small cafe we have in our pack and have a conversation in private. The cafe is commonly used for private meetings, so no one will ask questions as to why they are to stay away. This means his pack won't be able to ask questions, and he can just say that he was just meeting with me about something. Axe says, making his fingers into a steeple. How very Sherlockish of him. That would work. I'll talk to him about it tomorrow. We could do it the next day if that works for you, my mother says, and Axe agrees. I'll talk to him. I don't want you interacting with him too much. I may be willing to give him a chance, but I still don't trust him. At least with you. I say, wanting to keep Mom away from Dad until I can talk to him privately. Okay, just be careful. I know I'm safe from his temper, but I don't know how he's going to take to you. My mother says, her face showing concern. I see Axe look concerned for a second, but he covers it just as quickly as it appears. The meeting didn't last much longer because everyone was tired and most immediately went to bed. I waited an hour and then went to the living room to wait on Axe. It took him a minute more to get to me, and he was dressed in a white tank top and black basketball shorts, like the cliché he is. Hey, he says with a smile on his face. Hi, I say, letting a smile onto my face. I refuse to keep my stone face on while I'm with him. So, quick question, how do you know my grandfather? He asks after a moment. I knew the question would come up sooner or later. I have no problem answering it. When I was young, probably about 4 or so, my mom was looking for work. The pack was under a different alpha, and the pack doctor wasn't allowed to train anyone else. My mother was looking for work and went to a bar that your grandfather was in, and I went with her because she didn't have anyone to watch me, and I was a well-behaved child, so she trusted me. I say with a half smirk and a chuckle. I was in my pajamas because it was late, and Mom went to the back to talk to the manager. I walked over to the bar after Mom gave me a kiss on the forehead and hopped up onto a stool that was way too big for me, and I was sat next to Whiskey. He looked at me with this look of utter confusion and raised a brow at me as I ordered a Dr. Pepper from the bartender. They both looked at me with this look that just said, what in the world is this child doing in a bar? I got my Dr. Pepper and Whiskey asked me just that. I explained that my mother was looking for work and was hoping to get a job here. We talked for a little while longer, and he dismissed himself for a moment before coming back not 2 minutes later. Apparently, he'd gone and talked to the manager and demanded that my mom get the job once he saw how respectable she was. The rest is history. I explain, a smile on my face. Yeah, Grandpa Whiskey is a pretty cool guy. He's always running around and running his, business. Axe says, not saying what that business is. I know he runs a mafia. I found out when I was 8 and didn't care. Mom didn't either because of how much he's done for us. I say with a shrug and a smile. He nods his head with a look of amazement on his face. We talk some more, and before I know it, it's time for us to go to bed because we both have stuff to do tomorrow. We say goodnight, and he kisses me on the tip of my nose, which makes me smile more than I'd care to admit, and as he goes to walk away, I grab his arm, spin him around, and kiss him on the jaw. He looked at me, slightly shocked for a moment, but I gave him a smug look and walked away, turning back to wink at him. All in all, I say this was a pretty effective day. Chapter 8, Cassie's POV, We Have to Talk. I say, approach my father. As anticipated, Axe accompanied my mother and me to her father's house this morning. We stayed there for a while before I announced I had a meeting, and I went off. That meeting is with my father, whom I tracked to his office and talked his beta into letting me speak to him. So here I am, bursting into my father's office, telling him something he needs to know. John, you're good to go. This is a private meeting. I'll call you in if we need anything, he says, waving the beta away. Once John is gone and out of earshot, Dad drops his pen and rubs his hands across his face. What did she say? She agreed. It will be me, you, her, and Alpha Axe. We'll meet at a little cafe on his territory tomorrow. It's usually reserved for meetings, so no one will question why the cafe is closed to the public, and no one from your pack will have to find out. You can bring anyone that you want to, but they'll find out information about my mother and me. I would also like to request a meeting with you the day after the meeting to discuss a few things. I say in rapid order, laying everything out on the table. That all seems doable. Alpha Axe knows everything. He asks after a moment, looking deep in thought. He's been informed. It was one of the stipulations of us staying with him. He doesn't judge you for your decision, or at least he said he wouldn't need until he knew your reasons. That's one of the reasons why he wants to be there tomorrow. He says that what he finds out tomorrow will not affect your peace treaties or resources. He wouldn't put the pack in danger because of a personal reason. Another reason he's going to be there is because he has to so that all of your reasons and excuses pan out. I explain the reasoning behind everything. He nods and takes a deep breath before releasing it slowly. Why do we need to meet the day after? He asks, looking up at me with a look of confusion. I have so many questions I'll need to ask you after everything. Tomorrow is your day for questions, and the day after is mine, I explain. Why did she keep you from me? He asks, his voice cracking slightly, and sadness is evident. It was my decision. She told me the truth, and I made the choice. It physically pained her to try to tell you. I can tell you from experience that the pain she went through trying to tell you was excruciating. I felt it a couple of times in the womb and a couple more times when I was just a baby and she forgot to close the bond. It was as if the Luna above refused to let her tell you. I say, zoning out. Why would Luna keep you from me? He asks, zoning out and his voice evening out a bit. Maybe she thought a child would be too much for you too. Maybe she wanted you to grow up on your own. I say as we both sit there completely zoned out. We stayed that way for a minute before my phone went off, informing me I had a text. I already knew what it was. Axe said he didn't want me gone for too long and would text me if I stayed out. I rolled my eyes at him and walked away, but I knew he actually would. And I was proven right when I checked my phone. All right, I've got to go. The Alpha joined us today and he wants me back. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow then? He asks, standing to walk me out. You will. You might want to prepare a list of questions tonight so that tomorrow can play out smoothly. Ask as many as you want and the importance doesn't matter. It could be the simplest thing or the most important question of your life, though I can't say that we'll answer everything, but everything we do answer will be complete honesty. I say, standing up and walking to the door. He nods and opens the door for me. I walk back to my grandfather and uncle's house, and the second I walk through the door, Axe bombards me with questions. Where have you been? What took so long? Why didn't you answer my text? He rapidly fires at me. I was telling my dad about the meeting. He had some questions, and I was on my way back. If I'm completing the task, I won't respond to the commander, I said, texting my dad and telling him that I made it back. He may not be home, but I always text the person I just left and let them know I'm safe. It's something Mom always made me do when I was younger. Honey, is that you? Mom yells from the living room. Yeah, Mom, I say, walking into the room, followed by Axe. How was your meeting, sweetie? Mom asks, smiling. Marcus smiles at her, and Andrew does too, obviously happy to see her so happy. Jason is also there, making eye contact with me and smiling. He is excited to see his wife's eyes. It was pretty good. Everything is set up, and it will be carried out tomorrow, I say, crossing my arms and standing with my feet shoulder-length apart. You sound like you're about to carry out a hit, Jason says, chuckling. I stay silent momentarily, and Andrew looks at me with raised brows. You're not actually carrying out a hit, right? He asks with wide eyes. I can't help but smile and chuckle deeply at him. No, I just have another meeting set for tomorrow, and Mom has to accompany me, so we won't be able to come over tomorrow. And I have a couple of things to do, so it may just be Mom and a guard for a couple of days. I explain, looking between the three boys. Okay, sweetheart. Just make sure to come visit again before you leave, Grandpa Marcus says with a sad smile. I can see it on all their faces. I know they're unhappy that they missed my childhood and want to make up for it, but they don't know I won't be that far away. I'll make sure to, I say with a smile. I hate to interrupt, but we do have to go, Axe says, somewhat apprehensively. He doesn't want to break up the family reunion, but he also has work to get done. Of course, Grandpa Jason says, standing up to walk us all to the door. Alpha Axe, it was wonderful to see you again. Ladies, I hope to see you sometime this week. Now I'll also make my leave as I have to go speak with my son about some business. We all say our goodbyes and walk to the point where the boys are supposed to meet us and see them waiting. The car ride back is mostly silent, and Mom dozes off on my shoulder. I would have dozed off, too, had it not been because I wasn't 100% comfortable with the area. I'll have to go on a wolf run tonight. When we returned to the pack house and got Mom inside again, lying her down for a nap, I went to the office to talk to Axe. It was just the two of us in his office, so we were allowed to be a little more open with everything, but we still had to remain on business. Where'd you go? He asks, taking a deep breath and releasing it in a sigh. I went to inform my father of the meeting. He ended up having a few questions, and I stayed longer than I expected. I would never lie to you. Which is why I'm telling you that I have a secondary meeting with him the day after tomorrow. I say, the omission of the truth is still wrong in my eyes. Why? I was hoping me and you could find some time to hang out. He says, whining a little in playfulness and giving me a slight pout before it changes to a smile. I was hoping to as well, but I have to ask him a couple of questions, and I want tomorrow to be about him getting answers, I say sincerely. I can always trust him to be someone I can put my guard down around. What did I do to deserve you? I must have been a saint in a past life. He says after a moment of just looking at me. I was wondering what you did to deserve someone as bad as me. I say with a chuckle. Please tell me you don't actually think badly about yourself? He asks. He scoffs when I don't answer and looks at me like I've grown 3 heads. You are one of the best people I know of, and I've only known you for 3 days. Maybe that's the problem. In the 3 days I've known you, you have taken care of your mother as if you were the mom. You've done everything you can to help out around the house, even though you're the guest. You've handled the children like it's no one's business. And you've proven yourself to be a wonderful Luna. After you left today, your mom spent an hour talking about how amazing you are and how much she loves you and everything you've ever achieved. And do you know how hard it was to not show how much love I feel for you in those moments? I know things that your mom told that I don't know if you would have told me. She told me about so many things you did when you were younger that were just instinctive for you. You are a wonderful person and will make a marvelous Luna when you are given the chance. So yes, what did I do to deserve you? What did I do to deserve the most amazing women to ever grace the earth with her presence? He says, getting up and walking towards me with every declaration. When he finishes, he's standing directly in front of me, leaning forward to look me in the eye. After a speech like that, I can't help but lean forward. He looks at me in amazement and then looks down towards my lips. His breath catches, and I know mine does too. He looks back into my eyes and takes a deep breath before speaking. May I? Please. I say without a moment's hesitation. The light feeling of something warm against my lips happens not a moment later. I add more pressure and can't help but close my eyes when I feel his palm on my cheek. He pulled away a moment later, and I opened my eyes to see the most beautiful eyes I'd ever seen. Wow, he says and releases a breathy laugh. I smile and release a breathy chuckle of my own. Definitely wow, I say, grinning like the cat that got the canary. We are split apart by a knock at the door and a grinning whiskey. Congratulations, he says with a gleam of pride in his eyes. How do you know? Axe asks, having stood back a little bit. He's leaning against this desk as if we had been discussing casually. Consent even in the littlest things. Whiskey and I quote in sync. Whiskey turns to grin at me, and I wink at him. He points at his ears and says, "Wolf hearing." Dinner's ready. The rest of the night is a casual dinner followed by a short run around his pack and then off to bed. Everything was rather casual, and I'm glad because tomorrow will be more stressful, and I'm concerned for Mom. Axe and I didn't meet that night. We spent the night resting, and I personally dreamed about the kiss. I fall asleep with a smile on my face. Chapter 9 Cole's POV. I can't believe I have a daughter. I only ever slept with one person, and that was Ari, and I was drunk. I barely remember it, but now I have a daughter. And she's so strong. She had to get that from somewhere. I didn't really talk to her mother when we were younger, but if she was anything like she is now, then she was a pill. Why did I even reject her? There's so much I want to know about her, about both of them. I'm so glad Cassie convinced Ari to let me talk to her. I suspect Cassie would have if she wanted to, but the fact that she respected her mother enough to ask is already better than anything I've ever done. And the fact that she delivered the news personally and gave me details says so much about her character. She's so much more mature than she should be. It doesn't help that my dad but dialed me while Ari was adamantly talking about all the things she's done. It's obvious that the two of them care for each other like a mother and daughter should. I'm proud of her, but at the same time, I'm sad I missed it all. I'm not sure how I feel about not being told about her. If what Cassie says is true, then I guess I understand. I didn't sense any deception in her, but she could be trained not to show any, or it could just be what she genuinely believes. I guess I understand why she wouldn't want to meet me, but she could have at least let me know. No, she couldn't have. You would have demanded to see her and defeated the whole purpose of her choice. My wolf tells me. Okay, so that makes sense, but would I be wrong to want to know about my kid? When did you act the way you did? So maybe I shouldn't have rejected her mother, but I don't remember doing it. Of course, you don't. It was 18 years ago. And you were hungover. Okay, doesn't being around her hurt you? And why are you sassing me? Of course, it does. You stupidly destroyed the bond, and I'm sure it hurts her too. Cassie's probably the only reason she's still alive. Why would Cassie be the only reason she's still alive? Because she still has a part of us with her. She didn't lose all of us. Cassie is a part of us. That's probably why Luna wouldn't let her tell you. You would come storming about, hurting her, and if she refused to see you, you would demand your daughter and take the only thing keeping her alive. I would not have done that. You were a dick in your youth. You would have. Okay, so maybe I would have, but no buts. You had no right to her after what you did to our mate. You may have rights to her in the human world, but those rules don't apply to us. That's why we have wolf laws. Did you just cut off our link? How dare you, but face. Alpha? Are you okay? You've been zoned out since that girl left. My beta says, snapping in my face. Yeah, just a little stressed. I have a meeting tomorrow at the North Carolina PAC. I'll probably take my father with me if I can get him away from my mother for long enough, but if I can, you'll stay in her room and keep an eye on her. I say, getting into business mode. My father already knows about my daughter, so he would be okay to bring her. And then the following day the girl that was here will be back for a follow-up on the meeting. Sounds good, boss. I'll bring her straight up then. He says with a nod of his head. Thanks, man. Can you send my dad over? Yeah, man. I'll send him right over. Anything else? What's for dinner? I ask, feeling hungry. Tacos. Yes, I say, suddenly excited. He rolls his eyes at my behavior and goes to watch for my dad. It doesn't take long for my dad to arrive. He grumbles about how he's been away from my mother for too long as he plops down on the plush couch in my office. Father, please stop complaining. I'll have you back to her very soon. What is it, son? He asks, lying down and getting comfortable. I can't help but roll my eyes before I respond. Ari and Cassie have set up a meeting for me to get to know them tomorrow. I wanted to know if you would go with me so that it looks like an actual meeting about pack business. It'll also give you a chance to get to know your granddaughter. I just got back from Ari's father's house. She talks a lot about Cassie, so I know more than you do. Of that I have no doubt, he says, rolling his eyes. Do you want to go or not, old man? I say, clearly irritated. Do you realize that you messed up by screwing with Ari? He asks with a raised brow. Yes. I regret it, and not just because I didn't get to see Cassie grow up. Now answer my question. Yes, I'll go. But you have to have someone watch your mother. I want to know if she wakes up. Now where and when is this meeting? Tomorrow at the NC Pack. We'll meet them at the border meeting spot, and they'll take us to this little cafe they have for meetings. I tell him while popping my neck, the stress having returned. Well then, he says, standing up and stretching, I'm going to go see your mother and talk to her for a little bit. I'll see you bright and early. He nods to me and walks out, and I lie back and close my eyes, taking it all in. I have no idea how this is gonna go, and I'm nervous as all crap, but I'm also excited to get to know my daughter. I owe her for getting me this meeting with her mother. I have no idea how I'm going to repay her. Chapter 10 Cassie's POV today is the day my mother and father talked to each other for the first time in 17 years. I'm nervous for my mother. I have told her that if the pain of being around him is too much, she has to tell me, and we'll take a break. Right now, we're waiting for the boys to pick up Cole, and while Mom looks calm, I know she's freaking out. I hear her heartbeat spike occasionally, and she takes a deep breath, meaning she's probably thought of Cole. We don't have to wait very long. Cole arrives and sits down across from my mother. Surprisingly, he brought his father along, which made my mom smile. I hear a subtle intake and know that Cole is just as taken with my mother's smile. Let's begin, shall we? Cole says, we shall. Do you have any questions? My mother says, looking him in the eye. She doesn't do this out of disrespect, but out of total respect. She bows her head a lot, but I know that she's excited to be able to look someone in the eyes. Why did you keep her from me? He demands more than he asks, which earns him a glare from me. He acknowledges the glare with a wince, but Mom answers as if she didn't even hear a command. I tried. Many times. Every time I tried, a piercing pain shot through me. I couldn't even move for 2 hours after. I went to the doctor twice after it happened. They witnessed the pains, but could never decipher what the cause was. I had one once when I was pregnant and avoided that happening again. I tried again a little after I had Cassie, and the pain was worse. I tried to ignore it, but it got too bad, and I was hospitalized once. I had figured out that it happened when I tried to tell you, and it was confirmed by the Luna several times through my own dreams and many other people. The pain was coming from trying to contact you. I had to think about my child. I really did want to tell you. I tried again every couple of years until Cassie was old enough to understand, and then I let her make the decision. My mom explains. She looks down and mentions the pain. She told me a couple of years back when I woke up from a nightmare and felt the pain again. Cassie, he says to get my attention. Why did you not want to know me? Don't try to use the alpha tone on me. If you want me to answer your question, you ask it in a question format. I say with a bit of growl in my voice. Nice. I hear Mom snort in my head. I can feel the pride from her, Grandpa, and Axe, though I'm not sure if the others noticed Axe's reaction. Will you please tell me why you didn't want me to know? He asks after a moment of silence. I can feel pride coming off him because I'm not submissive. You hurt my mother. By the time I was old enough to decide, I was also old enough to understand the mate bond and consequences of rejection. I knew that being around you would negatively affect my mother, so I didn't want you near her. She told me that you didn't know too much about her, and I thought it would be unreasonable to reject someone before you knew them. I figured if you didn't want my mom, why would you want me? I'm very much like her. There were many reasons for not wanting you around when I was younger. I say, you rejected me before you knew me. He says with a slight grin, tugging at his lips. I was 6. What's your excuse? I say. This earns me a high five from Grandpa, a snort from Axe, and a smile from Mom. I was stupid. Was? I say with raised brows, feigning shock. Another high five and smile, though this time Axe begins to chuckle silently. I can feel the frustration radiating from Cole. Cole, my mother says, and his head snaps towards hers. Do you have any more questions? Do you have any baby pictures? He asks. Mom smiles and pulls out a small box from her purse. We didn't get many opportunities to take pictures when she was a baby. However, she was very photogenic. Mom says with a small smile and a chuckle. These are a few of them and some of her favorite onesies. She loved archery when she was younger and was very good for someone so young. Her hair color was quite odd. It would constantly change. As she's gotten older, it's gotten a little bit brighter, and in the summer it was all over the place. I grabbed all the pictures that had her in a dress because she would rarely wear one. Mom explains with a chuckle. I stand by that. They're very impractical, and I don't care what Disney says. You cannot properly shoot a bow in a tight dress. Your muscles are too restrained, and even if the dress rips, the chances of you getting an accurate shot are extremely slim. I say, going into a bit of a rant. What about if you're going to a club? Grandpa asks. Then my previous statement rings true. You can't properly get down in a dress. At least without flashing the whole club your underwear. Jeans or any other type of pant would be better. I say. And why would I dress up to go to a club? Who am I trying to impress? A random stranger I'm probably never gonna see again? Why do people do that? But what about if you meet your mate? Grandpa asks, egging me on. If I meet my mate in a club, then I'm sure he wouldn't want me potentially flashing everyone or wearing something so tight and revealing that it leaves nothing to the imagination of everyone around us. I say, rolling my eyes. A chorus of he wouldn't s echoed throughout the room. I agree that he wouldn't want that, but this is the most I've ever heard you speak. I rather like hearing you talk, he says with a smile on his face. Have you ever actually been to a club? Cole asks. Yes, several hundred times. I say with a shrug. Why? You're 17. You shouldn't even know what the inside of a club looks like. He shouts. Cole, calm down. I work at one as security. I make sure that no fights go down, and if they do, they stop before they escalate. I say with a shrug. Why do you have to work? I thought your mother was the pack doctor, which would mean that you have everything taken care of. Grandpa asks. I get bored a lot. I finish school early, and training all day is boring, and after a while, it's bad for your health. I thought I might as well do something to help. They talked for a couple of hours, and I remained silent for the most part, only answering when I was asked a direct question. Cole and Mom talked a lot and got to know each other a little more, and towards the end, their grandpa got up and ran out. Apparently, Grandma woke up from her coma, and he needed to get to her. I respect him for being here to understand my mother and me better. After he left, they talked for another half hour before Cole returned to his pack. We got back to the pack house, and I got a text informing me that there was a fight nearby, and I wanted to attend. I had a few hours, so I talked with my mom. How are you doing, Mom? I feel horrible. You could have told us to leave. I could have come up with an excuse to get us out of there. No, baby. That's not why I feel horrible. Then why, Mom? I feel horrible because I felt complete. Being together and just talking to each other. My wolf was just so calm. I shouldn't feel like that. I should have felt pain. I should have felt anger. I should have felt anything except complete. I just want to be around him more. Why? Tears are now falling from her eyes, and she puts her head in her hands. Mom, everything happens for a reason. I can't tell you why Luna made it this way. Would you prefer not being around him for the rest of the trip? You can't predict what will happen in the next couple of days. It may come to having to meet with him. I'll just have to live. As long as you promise to actually live, then I won't object. I say with a smile. Hey, I have a meeting in town later tonight, so I'll leave before dinner and be back around midnight. Okay, baby girl, just be careful, she says, stands to kiss me on the forehead, and heads down to converse with the others. I tell Axe and his mother and head out for my fight. Chapter 11. Cassie's POV. I borrowed a car to get to the underground bar where the fight would occur and made it there with an hour to spare. This gave me plenty of time to warm up and change my usual attire. The attire above consists of a sports bra and shorts with a loose hooded tank top on top of it and a simple pair of purple sneakers. My trainer had demanded I wear this any time I fought. I didn't care. My only input was that my hair had to be in a tight ponytail. I wasn't told much about my challenger besides their name, and that was when I arrived, so I couldn't make a plan. This is the usual for these kinds of things and sucks. I've always been the kind of person who needs a plan, but I'm too far invested in this thing to stop now. My opponent's name is White Tiger, which I think is ridiculous, but whatever, man. My name is just C. I don't understand why an animal is used in your name. Warm-ups don't take long, and my coach took a memorable trip to be here for this fight, even though it's unnecessary. Before long, I'm called out onto the stage. White Tiger has already been called out and is standing across the ring from me. She's a 5 feet 9 inches girl who is super beefy and obviously has come this far from pure strength. I'm smaller, so I can move faster than her. I haven't seen her fight, so I can't make an informed decision on her quick thinking. The ref talks momentarily and explains the rules, which are 1, no hidden weapons, and 2, avoid death, and is told to begin. She charges at me and bends at the waist to throw me over her shoulder. I sidestep her, and she runs into the ropes before turning around. She looks at me with a little more rage in her eyes. So she has a quick temper. She charges towards me again, and this time I step to the side and stick my arm out to clothesline her. It works, but she grabs me on her way down, and I feel my shoulder pop. I'm sure it was audible throughout the room. I pop my shoulder and stand up, seeing her still down but very close to getting up. I quickly grab her arm and pull her up before ramming my head into hers. While this slightly disorients me, it does much more damage to her than to me, seeing as how she was already messed up from the fall. While she's trying to get settled again, I send a hard punch to her gut that has her doubling over and gasping for air. I give her a moment to catch her breath, and she stands up again. Her eyes are still dilating, meaning she is still not quite right after the blows to the head and lack of oxygen in her lungs, but she attempts to attack anyway. She tries to punch me and almost hits me square in the jaw, but I'm able to dodge just in time, so that it barely knocks my jaw. I'll have a slight bruise there for a bit, but it'll go away before I go home. I grab her hand before it goes too far past my head and bend it in a way that will disable her but not break the bone. She sucks in air through her teeth and tries to use her non-dominant hand to throw a punch, and, because she's not well practiced with that hand, the punch is quite sloppy and easy to block. I do a roundhouse kick and land it on her head. This knocks her out and ends the match. The ref comes in to check on her, and I also check her pulse and the other injuries as well as her pupils to make sure she doesn't have a concussion. After making sure my opponent isn't too horribly damaged, I change and head home. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual and went for a run. My shoulder hurts, and I feel pain in my jaw, but I'll survive. After my jog through the woods, I joined everyone for breakfast, and then my mother and I went into town. My mother stayed with the Beta and Gamma, and I walked to the Cole's office where our meeting would be held. I walk up to the Beta of Cole's pack, and he immediately takes me to Cole's office. He drops me off at the door, and I knock and am immediately told to come in. Cassie. So, if yesterday was my day, then that means you have questions for me today. So, what are they? He asks as I get comfortable in the chair across the way. It's mainly just one question, I say, waiting for him to tell me to proceed. It takes a moment, but he eventually tells me to shoot. If you could take back your rejection in the present day, would you? Why would you ask the impossible? The only one who could do such a thing would be the Luna, and I certainly don't deserve such a thing. He says, regret heavy in his voice. That's not what I asked. I asked if you could take back your rejection in the present day, would you? I've actually just quoted myself. I say, it wouldn't matter. Your mother would never accept me. Not that I blame her. He says, it's become evident that he's pouting. Answer the question, Cole. If you could have your mate back and have a second chance at your family, would you? I say, no longer phrasing it in question format. Yes, 1,000 times. I can't help but think that I was so much of an idiot that I would lose everything, he says, shaking his head and closing his eyes. He suddenly shoots up, runs to the door, and opens it just in time to stop someone from knocking on the door. He steps into the doorway and closes the door so I'm hidden inside. I raise an eyebrow at his back in question, but a furious woman's voice quickly answers my unvoiced question. You rejected your mate. How could you? I raised you better than that. The woman says, Mom, calm down. You just woke up from a 2-month-long coma. You need to rest, Cole says, trying to calm the women down. However, there is one thing you should never do, and that's tell a woman to calm down. Did you just tell me to calm down? You expect me to calm down after finding out that my son did one thing described as the worst thing you could ever do. And now I find out that you have a random woman in your office that you are obviously trying to hide. She continues to shout. She then barges into the room, Grandpa following behind her like a lost puppy. Hey, Grandpa. I say casually with a smile. Hey, sweetheart. I thought you had a meeting today. He says with a curved brow. I'm in my meeting. I had a couple of questions for him and didn't get to ask yesterday. Excuse me. Who are you? Angie, as I recall my mother calling her, asks. My name is Cassie Mora, I say, formalizing my introduction to the woman who doesn't yet know she is my grandmother. This is our granddaughter. My grandfather says, putting a hand on her shoulder. You went and got a girl pregnant after you rejected your mate? She yells and walks over to slap her son. It was actually before, I say with a smile. He glares at me and mouths, not helping at me, making my smile grow. You got someone pregnant before. Is that why you rejected your mate? She yells, smacking him again. Cassie, I really don't like you right now. He says, putting his hands up, trying to block his mother's hits. You're getting what you deserve for rejecting my mother. Consider this my revenge. I say with a shrug. Honey, calm down. What he did wasn't okay, but Ari has forgiven him and has allowed him to meet Cassie. He says this, but does not do an excellent job of explaining. My mother is his mate. They were at a party and met and had sex. The next morning, he rejected her. She was already moving away, so when her mother disowned her and she got rejected, she just moved permanently. We recently came back because her mother moved away and her father wanted to reconnect with her. Nobody knew I existed. She left before she could tell anyone, and the moon goddess would not let her tell your son. Since he's been made aware of my existence, he's made a tremendous effort to get to know me and my mother. He's made an effort to rectify his mistake, and for that you should be proud. I say, properly explaining the situation. Your mother is Ari Mora, isn't she? She asks with tears in her eyes. Yes, my mother is an amazing woman who did everything she could to raise me. She genuinely tried to tell your son that he had a daughter but couldn't, and by the time I was old enough to understand, she gave me the decision. I chose not to tell, so I am also to blame. I say, I understand, child. Well then, Cassie, was it? It's lovely to meet you. My name is Angie, and I suppose I am your grandmother. She says with a smile and an extended hand. It's nice to meet you, Angie. I'm Cassie. I say with a smile of my own and a handshake. How are you two so similar, and yet you've never met? Grandpa asks with an incredulous look on his face. Cole has one that matches. We both roll our eyes, and I turn back to her. If you would like to speak to my mother, she's currently at her parents' house. She's been spending the last couple of days talking to her father and brother. That's wonderful. They deserve to get to know each other again. Where are you staying? She asks, looking like a very professional businesswoman. We're staying at the neighboring pack. Our alpha didn't want us to be too close in case being around Cole hurt. It was the only way he would let us come out. Even though Mom would have gone without permission, it was just easier to agree. I say with a shrug, my voice taking on a similar tone. Your mother was always one for getting her way. She says with a chuckle. We talk for a minute more before they go on their way. I say goodbye to Cole, having gotten what I came here for, and head back to the car and my mate's pack. Chapter 12. Cassie's POV. I miss Axe. He had pack business and had to stay behind today, so after I finished my meeting with Cole and returned to the pack house, I first went to his office. I knocked, and he called for me to enter. After today's training, I saw him sitting with his pack, doctor, talking about a few members needing care. Just who I needed to speak to. Cassie, this is our pack doctor, Ramiro. Ramiro, this is Cassie. She'll be training the pack members for the rest of her stay. Cassie, I wasn't expecting you back so soon. What is it I can help you with? He says, maintaining professionalism. It did not go unnoticed that he said our pack, but to the good doctor, it probably sounded like he was talking about the pack as a whole, or maybe talking about himself and the doctor. My meeting finished earlier than expected, and I wanted to ask you when you would like me to start training. I can come back later, if you would like. I say monotonously, which is my business voice. Oh no, we're just about finished. So, Alpha, I'll need medical information for all the teenagers who are training so that if any of them come in injured, I know what to give them and what not. The best way to go about that would be to have every parent fill out a form containing allergies and things to be aware of and turn it into you before they can begin training, Doc says, looking at Alpha. That sounds wonderful. Send a mind link to everyone. I want updated files on everyone, young and old. When was the last time we had med file updates? Axe asks. 2 years ago. Well then hop to it, man. Axe exclaims dramatically. Doc nods and walks out. We wait silently for a minute and a half before he stands up and walks over to me. I open my arms for a hug, and he walks over, giving me one without a second thought. He pulls back, looks at me, and asks if he can kiss me. Of course. You always have my permission. I say, and he leans forward to kiss me. His lips are soft, and I'm already addicted to him. He pulls back too soon for me, but is already breathless. I take a deep breath and look into the eyes I've already fallen in love with. You are the most beautiful being I have ever laid eyes on, he says, his eyes showing awe. And you are the most handsome. I say, showing him the same awe. Gah, I missed you last night. I didn't sleep all that well. I ended up staying up until I heard you come in. I wanted to go check on you, but I didn't want to appear creepy and figured you would be tired. He says, looking down almost in shame. You should have come. I would have loved to see you. I was sad that I missed our nightly conversation. I've gotten so used to seeing you that it was odd to try to sleep without it. I say and sit down. Can I ask what you had to do? He says, sitting next to me on the couch he has in his office. I shouldn't tell you, but I would prefer you knew. I'm an underground fighter, and I had a match last night. I've been in it for a long while, and at this point there's no way for me to get out. It would be stupid and hard to get out unless I had a valid reason. I say with a shrug and lean onto his arm, which he wraps around me. What would they count as a valid reason? He asks with a raised brow. Pregnancy, marriage, or serious injury. I say listing them by common occurrence. I love how you said pregnancy then marriage. He says with a chuckle. It's more common for an underground lady to get pregnant before they get married because more prefer to entertain themselves after a fight. And often fighters will marry each other and neither of them will give up fighting. Oftentimes, serious injury will only stop them briefly until they recover, and then they're back to fighting. I say, explaining the answers. Well then, he says with raised brows and a shrug. Would you ever want kids? Yes, many. I've always wanted a sibling, but my mom didn't want a second chance, mate, so there was no way I would be able to have one. I don't want my kids to feel lonely growing up. I say, thinking back to my childhood and how lonely it was with few children in the pack then. We were switching alphas, and now that we have settled, there are many children, but at the time, the packs were quite lonely for a child my age. How many kids would you want? He asks. 7, I say, laughing and entirely joking. Oh, please no. That's overkill. He says, his eyes swallowing his head at the thought of that many kids. Honestly, the idea isn't appealing because giving birth 7 times doesn't sound fun. Yeah, I was joking. I wouldn't be able to withstand giving birth that many times. I say, shaking my head. What genders would you want? He says as he begins to run his fingers through my hair. 3 boys and a girl. The boys would be protective of the girl, and the girl would be able to defend herself because her brothers wouldn't let her not know how. And if something were to happen to us, then we wouldn't have to worry about her being alone. That was always my mom's big concern. She made sure that if anything did happen to her, I'd go to my father. She even had a letter written out and told me where it was so I could grab it before I was sent away. She was prepared for every instance. Your grandfather almost tore up the letter when she showed him where it was. He said that no good piece of waste wasn't gonna get his little DP. No way, no how. I say with a chuckle, recalling how insistent the old man was about my being his princess, and no one was gonna take me away from him. Yep, that sounds like the old man. He says, releasing a yawn as I lean more into him. You know, we could take a short nap. If you tell your mom that you made it back dash already had. And I tell the boys that I'm in a meeting, we could probably get away with a 30 or so minute nap. He says, looking down at me, his eyes showing how tired he was. And so we did just that. Just relaxing in the feel of being in each other's arms. Chapter 13 Cassie's POV training starts today. I get up very early, ready to start this thing after being inactive for too long. I throw on a tank top and a pair of men's basketball shorts because we won't be going extreme today and head out to the training field. No one else is when I get out there, which is not unexpected as it's 3 in the morning. I do my warm-ups, which consist of running 2 miles and doing 150 push-ups and 150 pull-ups before taking a break to drink water and wait for the others. At 5 a.m., everyone who will be training today arrives. Some older girls, about 16, are in almost see-through leggings and sports bras that are too tight. The boys who are the same age or a year older are all looking at the girls, some with disgust and some with lust. Everyone quickly shifts their eyes to the field where they see me, and a chatter starts among them. I thought their pack's greatest warrior was gonna be here? Where is he? And she's hot. These are just a few phrases I catch flitting through the group. Also, Axe must have seen the last one because he bristles a little at the comment and then calls for silence. This is the top warrior of the Risen Moon Pack of Oregon. Her name is Cassie Mora, and you will treat her with the utmost respect. You will follow her instructions as if she were the moon goddess herself. If I find out that any of you disrespected her, you will face punishment. She is a guest, and we want to make a good impression. He says, raising his brows at everybody. He nods to me and then walks off. For starters, if you are wearing something that is too tight or see-through, you will go change in this instant. We will not proceed without you, but you will miss the introductions. I'm okay with leggings and sports bras to work out in, but I want them properly sized or covered with a t-shirt. I say, raising my voice to be heard by the crowd. A large group of girls and a few guys go to change, and I have everyone else sit on the grass. The group I have today is 11 to 17 and is co-ed. This means that I'll have to split them up into groups. Before we begin our training, I'm giving you the option to ask me questions because I know that trust isn't something given off the bat. I want to earn your respect so you can ask me any question while we wait for your peers. I will warn you, though, I may give you a short answer. I say, and almost immediately, hands go up around the group. I chose one of the younger girls to go first. How old are you? The 11-year-old girl in pigtails asks. I am 17. I turn 18 in a month and a half. I say and point to one of the older boys. Have you found your mate? The boy asks, waggling his eyebrows as if insinuating he could be my mate. Yes, I say and point to the next kid, not noticing the disappointment on the previous boy's face. Why haven't you? He pauses for a moment and looks to the group of younger ones before hesitantly continuing. Finish the process? I'm rather busy at the moment, and I want to be able to give him my full attention. Hopefully things will smooth out soon, and I will be able to. I explain and nod to a young boy with his hand up for a while. Why did you make them go change? He asks, urging his head like a confused puppy. The things they were wearing are not fit for what we're going to be doing today, and it would be inconvenient for them. They should go change. I say and notice the last group of girls walking out, dressed much more sensibly. All right, let's hop to it, guys. First things first, 10 laps around the field. If you feel like it's hard to breathe, you can sit down and get some water. I'll have the beta bring out a jug, and you can take a 2-minute breather and then get back to it. Go! And so it begins. After I get through the younger ones, I go on to the more experienced people, and our session is a little shorter than the others. My mom gets back in time to see the last session of the day, and after I finish, we all go out to dinner because Cassandra doesn't want to cook. Luckily, the place wasn't fancy because I refused to wear a dress. Later that night, I stayed with my mother in her room, and we talked about what she had learned about her Father's and Brother's Day. She's very excited about everything and getting to meet the real them, but halfway through our conversation, she stops and takes a shaky breath. I love you, you know that? She says, pausing to take another breath before continuing. This isn't a physical hurt. I was prepared to be in physical pain being around him, but all I felt was content. It was just the three of us, and I couldn't feel anything but happiness at the fact that we were a family. And now that I'm away from him, all I feel is an emotional pain. I can't understand why I accepted his rejection, but it's as if it never happened at all. Cassie, I don't understand. She says, wrapping her arms around me. She hides her face in the crook of my neck and sobs. All I can do is wrap my arms around her and let her cry. My mother hates not knowing, especially when it's about our lives. I'm also confused, but I can only think of looking to the moon for wisdom. As my mother falls asleep in my arms, I look towards the moon and send my thoughts to the goddess. Give me guidance to help my mother. I think and close my eyes, laying my mother on her bed. I walk to the living room and see my mate looking at the gas fireplace that is going for some reason. He looks deep in thought and has a glass of iced tea in his hand. He hasn't shaved in a couple of days, and he has a good scruff going on, which I absolutely love. I sit beside him, laying my head on his shoulder. He leans his cheek on my head and plants a kiss on the top of it, never breaking his concentration. How soon do you think it will be before we can tell people? He asks, rubbing his scruff along my head. Soon, I hope. I want to be able to kiss you in front of people. I think most of the issues are resolved, except for a slight issue between my mother and father. But that is going to heavily rely on Luna. I say, cuddling up next to him a little more. Speaking of kissing, he says, turning to me so that he can see my face. May I? Of course. I say, and our lips meet without a second thought. And that was the perfect way to spend the night. Laughing and being with my mate. Chapter 14, Cassie's POV. 1 minute. I fell asleep on my mate, and the next, I was in a grassy field with a gorgeous night sky above me. While it was absolutely magnificent, the voice that presented itself was much more heavenly. Hello, child. The voice says, sounding like it was coming from a surround sound system. Hello, Luna, is it? I ask the voice, and a beautiful woman appears behind a tree. You are a very bright child. Most are very confused about their whereabouts and who I am. She says, her voice no longer coming from all around me. I must say, I didn't think you would actually operate in a grassy field. You seem more like a boardroom type of woman. I say, taking in the goddess of the moon. She is beautiful and isn't wearing a dress like most say she was when she spoke to them. She's wearing jeans and a One Republic shirt, which she cut the sleeves off, and her feet are bare. Most people like the field. They say it's calming, but I didn't make you like most people. She says, and in a blink, we're in a boardroom much like the one where all the trainers meet at the PAC in Oregon. Better. Much. Now, what do we have to discuss? I ask now that I'm in my element. I need you to go to your grandfather's house tomorrow and ask to see all the baby pictures and her birth certificate. You'll understand when you see it. After that, go to your father and you'll know what about at that point. She says. I nod and look at her to continue. Wow, I forgot how accepting you are. People usually get pissed at how cryptic I am. Well, it's not like you can just tell people the future. People would abuse that privilege or do something to try and change it. It's funny how people don't realize that the future is only secured by the actions they take. I say, rolling my eyes. Right. You get it. I should have you over more often, she says, laying her head back in her chair and putting her feet on the desk. I should have you over more often. Oh, that reminds me. Something is going to happen, and it will cause some stress. It will be a good thing, but there will be a fight. I can't say much, she says, looking frustrated. I nod, and she smiles at me before giving me a final thought. The thought is, don't be afraid to love him, and then I'm fading. I wake up on the couch with my head in Axe's lap, and Whiskey gives the two of us a gentle smile. I was gonna wake you two up. I really was. I just wanted to enjoy the peace for a moment. You two deserve it. It's okay. I thank you for letting him sleep. Sleep is going to be little with the war that is raging. I wish I could say more. I say and walk up to him. I hugged him and kissed his cheek, saying goodnight, and I did the same to my mate before going upstairs. I lay down, knowing only slightly what tomorrow has in store. When I woke the next morning, it was the usual routine: shower, dress, and breakfast. We were all gathered around the dining table, and the plans for the day were discussed. Everyone gave out their plans, and my mother's idea was to go look around the town because she hadn't had much time to. I thought maybe you and I could go look through old baby pictures of you. You brought some of mine, and I want to see yours. And besides, you've been telling me that you need to get a hold of your birth certificate for a while now. I say to my mother, who looks at me, shocked. Thank you. I've been meaning to ask about that, but I keep forgetting, my mother says, and I know she'll agree to the change of plans. You don't have your birth certificate? Cassandra asks, looking at my mother with a tilted head. No, my mother was always protective of important papers, and when she disowned me, I didn't have time to grab anything. Whiskey gave me a job without all that. She explains. That's awfully nice of him. You should definitely go get that. And baby pictures? Would you happen to have any news on you about Cassie? I bet she was an adorable kid, Cassandra says, looking over at me and smiling. I did. We can look at them before dinner. And she was the cutest baby, Mom says with a large smile on her face. As long as she's happy, I am. That sounds good. I'll get out my kids' baby pictures too, Cassandra says, and she and my mother spend breakfast making plans. After breakfast, my mother and I get into the car, and the Beta and Axe come with us today. The drive is short and doesn't give us much time to think, thus not giving me a lot of time to plan. I don't like going without a plan, and this trip has thrown me for a loop. I certainly hope life pans out after this. We get out of the car and all walk into the house. Andrew rushes down the stairs and picks his sister up in a bear hug, her feet leaving the ground. He spins her around, and she giggles before he places her back on the ground. Andrew, you saw me yesterday. You don't have to do this every day, she says, laughing. I have to make up for 18 years of missing you. So yes, I have to do this every day, he says firmly before looking at me as Grandpa Marcus hugs Mom. Hey kid, have you been? I've been good. I was wondering if we could see some of Mom's old baby photos and stuff like her birth certificate. I asked the two of them and they looked at each other. That shouldn't be a problem. That is if Stella didn't take them with her, though I'm not sure why she would. Grandpa says this time and walks back up the stairs. I don't know why she would. But now that I think about it, I've never seen my birth certificate. A job in the pack didn't require it, so that wasn't something I had to worry about, and it's not something I just randomly thought about. Andrew says. About 10 minutes later, Grandpa returned with a box of stuff that looked very light. This is all I could find. I saw Andy's birth certificate, so I suspect that yours is there, too. She was very organized, he says, setting the box on the coffee table. Just as he said, Andrew's papers are on top. Everything from medical records to his car insurance information. Next is a decent number of pictures from when Mom and Andy were kids. I look like a replica of a young mom, and it's proven as we go through the birthday pictures. From the time we start looking at them to the time we get to the bottom of the box, there can't be more than 150 pictures of them. When we get down to Mom's, records are where it gets interesting. She has very few medical records, schooling records, and almost no information on her as a baby. But her birth certificate is by far the most interesting thing. It has her name, but her last name is different. It's not Mora. It's Lustin. Her father is also not listed as Marcus. Mom, Andrew, and I all looked at Marcus in confusion while he was looking down at the paper with hurt. Daddy? Who's Lucas Lustin? Mom asks, referring to the name under father. Your mother and I were not true mates. Back in our day, forced mating were not uncommon. They were usually a power play. There weren't many of them, but your mother and I were one of them. Most people were very weary of messing with the Luna's plan, but her father and mine didn't care. She was never a fan of the idea, and I wasn't either, but my mate had died, and I had grown used to the idea. I know that she never did, and that's why she left. Her father recently died, and we were released from our duty. I respect her for staying for this long. We were married when I was 18 and she was 17, and we made it when she was 19 and I was about to turn 21. When she was 18, she was going through the woods on a run and stumbled upon a rouge. Lucas Lustin, her mate. He pauses for a moment and takes a deep breath before continuing. She met him in secret for a year before her father found out and had him killed. We were forced to mate after that. A week and a half later, I found out we were pregnant with you. I was so excited that I was going to have a baby. When we found out you were a girl, our fathers were not happy and told us we were going to have to keep going until we had a boy. You hadn't even been born yet, Ari. It was insane. But we had to follow orders. Looking back at it now, I realize that you didn't come early. You were perfectly on time, because you weren't mine. He says, his voice breaking on their last word. My mother immediately jumped up and ran to hug my father as he burst into tears. I know my mother was also crying, and Andrew quickly joined them in the huddle of heartbreak. Oh, Daddy, I'll always be yours. You're the one who raised me and loved me unconditionally. You'll always be my father, she says through the tears. I can feel my wolf pacing from the high emotions in the room, and I quickly mind link with my mom. I'm going for a walk. My wolf is anxious from the emotions in the room. Okay, sweetie, just be back in an hour and take one of the boys with you. Yes, ma'am. Call me if you need me. With that final thought, I nod to Axe and motion for him to follow me. We step outside, and he takes a large breath. Thank you. The air was so thick in there, he says, taking another large breath before turning to me with a look of concern. Are you okay? Yeah, just anxious. Take a walk with me. I ask in motion with my head. I'm up for it. Anywhere in particular? He asks, walking beside me with his hands in his pockets. I have somewhere in mind. And we start the journey to my father's office. It takes no time to get to his office, and by now, the beta knows to send me through with a mind link to Cole. We reach the door and knock on the office door, only to be called in. Hey kid, how are you doing? He asks upon seeing me. He nods to Axe and motions for him to sit, as I already have in my usual seat. I have important news that is incredibly urgent, I say, and he nods for me to continue. My mother's name is not what we thought it was. What? He asks, one eyebrow going into his hairline. My mother's legal name isn't Ari Mora. It's Ari Luston. I say slowly. How did you find this out? He asks, sounding skeptical. We were looking at her birth certificate. It stated that her biological father isn't Marcus, it's a guy named Lucas. I explained, but I could see that he still distrusted the situation. How are you sure it's true? The Luna came to me last night and said something big was going to happen. I say, what does that mean for me? If you rejected Mom using Mora, then you might not have rejected her in the eyes of Luna. But she accepted the rejection. And she was in pain from it, he says, a look of confusion and hurt crossing his face. His wolf never did forgive him for that. Look, pray about it, and I'll tell Mom to do the same. Luna wouldn't have pointed out her birth certificate for no reason. I say, standing and walking over to Axe. I'm not going to make you two accept each other, but if my theory is right, then you two may want to talk about it. Just a thought. I say, walking towards the door with Axe on my heels. Cole stays silent, and I can tell he's thinking as we walk out. We say goodbye to the beta, but we still have about 30 minutes left for our walk, so I recommend a little ice cream shop. Do you really think that the rejection failed because of such a minor detail? Axe asks while we eat our ice cream and walk towards the house. I think that Luna would do something like this to make sure her plan for her children goes right. I think that even such a minor detail could make a significant change for the future. And I hope that they do work it out. My mother has a longing to be around him, and I think it's from the improper rejection. I also know that Cole would revoke his rejection in a heartbeat and that they miss each other. They deserve a true chance at this, and I think this is that chance. I reveal my honest thoughts and hopes to him. You care deeply about your mother, he states as if it weren't the most obvious thing on earth. Of course. I know I'm supposed to leave the nest at some point, but for the longest time, I was the only thing she had. I just can't stand the thought of leaving her. Now she has her father and brother again, even if they're not fully related, that doesn't matter to her. I still want her to be nearby so she can come see her 7 grandchildren and be in their lives easier. I'm talking about our earlier joke. I want her to be there if I need advice, and I want her to be happy above all. She sacrificed so much for me, and now it's my turn. That makes perfect sense. I'm glad you shared that with me, he says. We finish our ice cream and arrive at Marcus and Andrew's house. We walk into a house full of laughter and joy, a nice change from earlier tears. We walk into the living room to see them looking at the baby pictures and making fun of each other. I can't help but laugh and join them sitting at the coffee table. And we spend the rest of our time laughing. Chapter 15 Cole's POV. I don't know how to feel about the information presented to me. I have a second chance at my mate because of technical issues. I wasn't lying when I told Cassie I wanted a chance to be a family. I want an opportunity to have and to hold her mom. I want a chance to be a father. I missed it so much because of my party animal ways, and I regret them so much. I hope Cassie is correct and that her mother can forgive me. I know the trust won't be returned immediately, but I would like a chance. Luna, please give me guidance and strength. I want an actual chance to fix my mistake and be the man you want me to be. I know I don't deserve it, but you've been proven to be forgiving goddess. I just hope that I may please you. I quickly pray and return to the work set before me. Hey, Bossman. Can I ask a question? My beta says to walk in and sit down. Was that not a question just then? I sarcastically respond. Ha ha ha, he says, rolling his eyes before continuing. Who is the girl that keeps coming and going? I sigh and think for a moment before responding. I trust you not to tell until I allow you to so. Her name is Cassie Mora. She's my daughter. You have a daughter? He asks with wide eyes. Yes. Her mother is my mate, and I rejected her 18 years ago while I was on my power high. Her mother is Ari Mora. They're visiting her brother and father, and Ari is allowing me a chance to know my daughter. Why did you put quotes around rejected? That's another thing. They were looking at her birth certificate and found out that she's not actually Marcus' daughter. Her legal last name isn't Mora, and therefore my rejection may not have been real. That's some heavy stuff, boss. What would you do if the rejection didn't hold? That's my current dilemma. I'm awaiting peace from the goddess. I want so badly for the rejection to have failed so I can have a chance at being a family, but at the same time nervous that it did hold, and I'll never have a chance because of a stupid mistake I made. I explain, throwing my head back against the seat. I'll tell you what. The Luna is known to come in dreams, so why don't you go rest? I'll tell the pack you aren't well at the moment, and you can try to get a hold of your thoughts. You can't expect peace when you're stressed out of your mind. He says, standing and walking over to the desk. That sounds good, man. I'll take you up on that. I say, standing and giving him a bro hug before walking to my room. I lay on the bed, fully clothed, and closed my eyes. It takes no time before I'm asleep. When I wake up, I'm on a flowery hill and know I'm in a dream. I suddenly heard a voice coming from every direction and nowhere simultaneously. Child, the heavenly voice says, I have heard your prayers and have come to answer them. I immediately drop to my knees and bow my head. Luna, it's an honor to be in your presence. I ask only for your guidance. My child, my guidance is the reason I have brought you forth. I have seen your heart and your character development, and I have come to give you the news. You have grown, and I have granted you an opportunity to reclaim your happiness. The only thing stopping you is Ari. I haven't had a moment to speak with her just yet, but you two will need to meet in your own time and talk like the adults I know you are. But if my plan is to go right, you two will need to behave and think like the adults I know you are. Of course. I will do my best to respect your wishes, Luna. I say, never having raised my head. I hope so, child. Now awake. I'm suddenly sitting up in bed, and I look at my clock to see it is now 4 p.m. I sincerely hope we can work this out. Ari's POV after story time, and spending a good 15 minutes crying, we spent the rest of the afternoon going through pictures that led up to my 17th birthday. After that, Stella said we were too old and no longer needed pictures. She had never been loving to me, but she was never overly aggressive. I could tell she didn't like me, but I never knew why. Even after hearing the story, I don't understand why she hated me. You'd think she'd want to hold on to the only part she had left of her mate. I expected the ride back to Axe's pack to be silent, but I was wrong. The events must have slowed the world because the conversation took hours and I was left with a killer headache. Mom, I have a theory. And what is that theory, my love? That you've been feeling the effects of the mate bond because it was never truly broken. She says, and I take a moment to process. Elaborate. I say with a bit of command in my voice. I hate to use it, but at the moment, I seem to have lost a bit of control over my wolf. I was still angry with myself for using it on my daughter, but she didn't seem to care about my tone. I suspect that because he didn't use your official last name, the mate bond was never truly broken. That you're still feeling its effects because it's still there. When you accepted his rejection, the Luna gave you a break from the bond, but did not break the bond itself. She pauses to take a deep breath. I also believe that you and Cole could form the bond anew if you wanted to. After that, I was silent and lost in thought, making the car ride seem like it took forever. My thoughts decided to run wild, and that's never good. I couldn't help but think there was a chance to be a real family, to watch our daughter grow up and meet her mate and help raise our grandchildren. To grow old together, as slowly as it may be. Was there a chance for us to be happy? These thoughts put me to sleep, and I had the following dream, which I haven't had in almost 18 years. I awoke in a grassy meadow with the heavenly sky above me and knew that I was in the realm of the goddess. Child, you fret too much. I have given you a plan, and it was almost ruined once. Don't let it happen again. I gave you a second chance using a small technicality. I want you two together, but you have to try to make it work. He's finally grown into the man I wanted him to be. Accept him and grow with him. Luna said, never once coming into my view. After her short speech, I was sent back to my bed. My sudden awakening was short-lived, as I was exhausted from the day before, and before I could think too much about what Luna said, I was back asleep for some actual rest. Chapter 16, Cassie's POV. I woke up this morning and was about to start my routine, but my mother stopped me. She may love exercising but refuses to be up this early, so I know something isn't quite right. Baby, my mother whispers, not to awaken our hosts. Does your father know of your hypothesis? Yes, I told him while I was on my walk. I wanted to give him a chance to think about it too, and that moment felt right. Okay, I trust you. You've never done anything to so much as fracture my trust, much less break it. I need to speak to your father, and I would like for you to be there. I would love to, but I have training today. We're still trying to get a solid schedule, but I could probably do it. She cuts me off, which she never does. No, it's okay. I just need to go talk to your father about something, but you're going to be busy and you have prior engagements, so it's not something I'm going to ask you to skip. I can talk to your father by myself. It would probably be better. Are you sure, Mom? I can take the day off. I'm not scared to ask for it. Baby, I'm sure I can handle that man. You've talked to him most recently, and I would like to know if he is going to be receptive. Yes. He's already told me that if he had the chance to take back his rejection, he would in less than a heartbeat. He hates himself for everything he's done for you and wishes he could change it. He was more than receptive to the idea. Well, at least I know it won't be a bust. You stay here and take care of your business, and I'll talk to your father about everything. I hope this works out. I want us to be a family. I know, Mom. I want you to be happy, and if this is what will make that happen, then it's what I want. Baby, you're gonna find your mate soon. You should be focused on your happiness, not mine. Besides, if your father and I get back together, then we'll have to move, and you're gonna be old enough to choose where you live soon enough. You need to focus on yourself, my love. Mom, we'll worry about that when the time comes. You get ready to meet Cole, and I'll get ready for training. Let me know how it goes. I say and kiss her on the head. She walks over to her room and goes inside, and I head out to run. I return in time for breakfast as Mom tells everyone her plan for the day, but I grab an apple instead of sitting down and eating with them. I don't want to overeat before working out a lot and making myself sick. And that's what my day consisted of. I barely ate, which I admit was unhealthy, and I trained for more than half the day. When I was finally done training, I was so tired that I could hardly move. I showered and went to my room to file my report, which we had to do, when I realized I didn't have any files. I begrudgingly stand and walk to Axe's office to get the paperwork. When I reach his office, I knock on his door and hear a slight come in. I walk in and go to speak, but he looks up and pats his lap while leaning back in his chair. I trudge my way over, slowly sit in his lap, and lean against his chest. He kisses my forehead, and my wolf starts to purr. What's wrong, love? He asks in a gentle voice that has me almost falling asleep. I'm tired and still have paperwork to do, and I have to eat so I don't pass out, and I'm sore because I don't think you understand how fast these kids learn, so I've had to increase them repeatedly today, and oh my gosh, that feels good. I interrupt myself as my excellent mate starts massaging my shoulders. How about you sit in here and do the paperwork, and I will have Grandpa bring us some food and give an excuse. He says, kissing me on the head here and there. Time with the most wonderful man in the world, food, and a break? Sounds magnificent. I say, kissing him on the nose. May I? He says and leans toward me. I'd be disappointed if you didn't, I say, meeting him halfway in a gentle kiss that flutters butterflies through my stomach. I get off his lap and sit in the chair across from him. I pulled up to the desk, and he passed me the files I had initially come for. We sit quietly and work until Whiskey brings in 2 plates of food. The only noise is forks hitting plates. After eating, whiskey came and took our plates away, and we finished our work quickly and snuggled for about an hour. As we fell asleep, we decided it would be best to sleep in our rooms. Luckily, we won't have to do that for much longer, and I'm glad because we sleep better snuggled together by design of the Luna. I reluctantly made my way back to the room I had been assigned and was about to lie down when my mom walked in and plopped down on my bed. She released a dreamy sigh, and I plopped down beside her to discuss how it went. He's changed so much. I can tell that the bond was never really broken. I feel how much my wolf and his are pushing to be together, and I can feel a very strong string-like thing pulling us together. She starts to ramble before stopping herself. Anything else? I ask because I know she's not saying anything. It hurts to be away from him right now. I'm not sure about how long I can stay away from him. I know that soon I'll have to tell Liam and Lily that I'm transferring to here, and I would go with you to take you back to Risen Moon and everything - Mom. If you move, I am too. Besides, I have something here that's making me really want to stay. Oh, will you tell me? She asks, sitting up and leaning towards me. In due time. Right now you have something to worry about, and when that's closer to settled, I'll tell everyone. I say, and I know she understands. Well, I'm excited. I hope that whatever it is keeps you happy. She says and kisses my forehead. Trust me, Mom, it does, I say with a smile as she walks out the door and into her room. I finally lay down for the night with a smile and exhaustion set into my bones. It was a good day. The ones where you can hardly move from exercise always are. Chapter 17, Ari's POV. I was a little more nervous than I would have been had Cassie been here, but I was still sure I could handle this. It was just Cole. And sure, he's changed, but it's been for the better, so why am I worried? I'm never nervous, so why is right now any different? Okay. Maybe I get a little anxious and tend to ramble when I am, but many people ramble and nervousness isn't new. Okay, Ari, focus. I take a deep breath and halt my inner monologue before it goes any further. I hold my head high and reach my mate's office, ready to take on the world, or at least the situation. I get to his office, and the beta waves me through to his office. When I get there, I knock on the door. It takes less than a moment for him to holler for me to come in. I take a deep breath as we look each other over. It's good I took that deep breath because one look was all it took to steal my breath. She was right. The bond never fully broke. He says, trying to regain the breath he, too, lost. Yeah, she's a good egg. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't know what I would do or be without her. So, for her, I thank you. I say, nodding my thanks to him. Come, sit. He says, motioning to the chair across from him. I do, and we sit in silence for a moment. Gah, why are we so awkward? We're supposed to be in love, and we can't even have a normal conversation. Yeah, it's like we're strangers or something. I say with sarcasm dripping from my voice. All right, there's no need for the sass. He rolls his eyes. But we really are strangers. The only thing we know about each other is what we recently learned and the fact that we share a daughter. I understand that you think that we would be head over heels in love and all that jazz, but that's not how that works. I know. How is she? Our daughter, that is. She had training to teach, or she would be here. I had to fight her for that one, but the mom card with a little bit of the reputation card will get her to listen. She tried to cancel her training, is what I'm trying to say. I love her, but honestly, she can be a pain. That makes sense. You've raised her to be amazing. I didn't do a lot. She was so independent that I tried to raise her, and she basically raised herself. I worked a lot, and I would get people to watch her, but she went about like they weren't there. She made herself food at the age of 3 if I wasn't home. If she wanted something, she would find a way to get it. She was making her own food at 3? As in 3 years old? Why would she do that if she had help? She never wanted help. They tried to help, and she would just dismiss them like they were flies. She tried to be polite about it, though, so I give her that. So she was always independent? Very. The Luna above gave me a wonderful baby. She hardly ever cried, and she was super smart. I think the only issue was she talked to strangers, but that always turned out to be a good thing. I couldn't ask for a better child. I can't help but smile as I think about my Cassie. I'm glad you didn't tell me about her. I had a lot of growing up to do, and you needed her more than I did. I wouldn't have been able to take care of her like she would have deserved, and it would have screwed us both up. You needed her way more than I did. The Luna knows what she's doing. Yeah, I don't regret not telling you. I needed her and, in all honesty, still do need her. I disagree. I don't think you need her. I think you try to hold on to her because you did for so long. I hope you'll hold on to me one day, but for now I'll settle for holding on to you. He says, crouching in front of me and cupping my jaw. What about when you leave? I can't help but ask as my eyes start to water at the thought. I refuse to leave you again. I just got you back, and if I'm honest, the last 18 years without you have been like living in hell. I never got the chance to properly love you, and I'm not going to lose that chance now. I may not know you like I should, but I want to. I may not love you right now, but I'm so close. I hope that one day you'll fall in love with me, because this time, I'll be there to catch you. He says, and I see adoration shining through his eyes. That's just the bond talking. I can't help but be insecure. I was rejected for my whole life by everyone but my daughter and my pack. That's a lot of time to think badly about yourself. No, I swear it's not. The bond is just there to show us what we never see by ourselves, and you know it, he says, bopping me on the nose. I look into his eyes and see no trace of a lie. I know the bond isn't there to force us together, and I thought about it a little more before declaring something that could never be taken back. If you're willing, so am I. His smile is blinding, and I can't help but give him my own watery smile. If you're willing, so am I. I am more than willing. He says I kissed my soulmate for the first time in 18 years. Chapter 18 Axe's POV. I'm excited to be able to hold my mate in public. Don't get me wrong, I love our private moments, but I would rather have her in my arms at all times and not just stolen moments in my office. I'm ready to show the pack they have a Luna and watch her take the role. She already walks the walk, and I'm more than ready for her to talk the talk. I'm ready to start a family and build a life. I'm ready to hold her at night in our bed and not have to worry about idiot teenagers hitting on her. I want to say the words that make her mine. I want to see her walking down the aisle, though I'm not sure she would actually wear a dress. I wonder if Grandpa Whiskey would help me find a ring? I don't want my parents or siblings to be clued in. Would she want me to ask her father's permission? Would she want him to walk her down the aisle? Would she even want a big wedding, or would she want to go to the courthouse? We haven't even been on a proper date, and I'm already considering the wedding. Would she care about that? I know I'm already in love, and it has nothing to do with the bond and everything to do with the women I'm tied to. I couldn't have gotten a better mate. I thank the Luna above every day for giving me the best. I have no idea what I did to earn her. I'm jolted out of my thoughts by Whiskey, dropping a large one on my desk. Finally. Boy, you've been out of it for about 20 minutes. Your boys are trying to talk to you, and I've also got some news, so focus. Whisk yells in my ear. Thinking about your mate's boss? Are you still seeing her eyes at night? My beta, James, asks. Whiskey looks at me as it asks, do they know? Yeah. You can guess why it's hard to focus when all you see are her eyes. Yeah, I can imagine. So, what are we talking about? Just giving you the reports for the last couple of days. Nothing super exciting except for some of the border guides fighting. There were a couple of Rouges that tried to attack while they were, and that snapped them out of it. The Rouges didn't last long. My Gamma, Riley said. When did that happen? I ask, not remembering. 2 hours ago. We just got word of it, like 20 minutes ago. Riley says with a shrug. All right. Anything else? I ask, and they say no and dismiss themselves. All right. What's up, Whiskey? We're gonna have to tell them soon. It's coming up on a month since you told them about it. They'll know soon enough. I'm confident that her business won't take too much longer. And if it does, that's something I'll have to talk to her about. Is that what you came to talk about? No. We have a business meeting next month and a ball in 2 weeks that they are asking every alpha and their mate to attend. Past and present. All of us will be attending. I was hoping to have a new alpha female by then, and maybe an heir on the way. Grandpa, we're waiting till after we're married, and we have to wait till she's 18 before even that. So you have discussed children? Yes, it was a recent discussion. And how many do you plan? 7. I reference her earlier joke. I don't think we'd be able to handle 7 kids. Well, good luck with that. I hope you're joking. I can see you two with 1 for 2. Do you have preferred genders? Healthy. I would be fine with either gender. I just want healthy. Though I'll love them no matter what. You always were a smart kid. I can understand. Whiskey said with a small smile as there was a knock on the door. Entro. I say to the person behind the door. It opens, and the most beautiful woman I've ever met walks in. Hello, Cassie. Hello, Whiskey. Did I interrupt? She asks, looking between the two of us. Never. I was just about to leave to talk to the chefs about dinner. I must go do that now, Whiskey said, walking out the door and closing it behind him. What's up, Sweet Pea? I ask her as she flops down in the seat across from me. This is the most informal I have ever seen her. I'm so tired. But some good news, we won't have to keep us a secret for too much longer. Everything is falling into place, and as soon as it lands, we can be outed, she says from her slouched position. I can't help the goofy smile that spreads across my face as I get up and walk over to her, leaning over her and asking for permission to kiss her. She says yes, and I smother her face with little kisses. I'm so excited. When do you think it'll be? I'm hoping less than a week, but I need to get all the details straight before I can give you a date. I was really hoping for one. I say with a playful pout. Soon, love, she says with a smile. She asks me for permission to kiss. I say yes, of course, and we kiss before breaking apart. Is there anything you needed? Or did you just come bearing the good news? I ask, returning to my chair. I just came to share this joyous occasion with you. I must now return to my room and prepare dinner. Of course, my love, I wish you the best of nights. I shall see you at the evening meal. Until then, I shall long to see thy face, she said with the most gentle smile. Chapter 19, Cassie's POV. I'm so glad that everything is finally working out. I can't wait to see my mom happy with her mate, though I'm not sure if I'll be able to call him Dad just yet. It's been weird living somewhere other than Oregon, and it doesn't feel like home yet. Even though my mate is here, I've spent my whole life in a different environment, and it's going to be a while before I grow used to the new place. It's quite beautiful, and thanks to my wolf genes, not too warm, but I haven't seen enough of the surrounding area yet. I heard there are lots of deer, so that will be good for hunting, but other than that, I did not research the environment enough. Mom and Cole are currently out on a secret date, not wanting to reveal to the packs yet about their mating, but I'm training some of the teenage pack members at Axis Pack. They learn to behave around me and take their training very seriously, so I'm quite proud. I haven't seen any bullying, which is something I have made very clear that I will not tolerate. I saw someone almost start to bully, but I raised a brow, which was the end. Training is over, and I'm ready to hear about my mom's date. I release the teens for the day, and they all go to the shower. A few are staying to help me clean up the training field. When we finally finish, I shower and then do my paperwork for today, which is probably the worst part of the job. I'm mainly used to it because I had to do the paperwork back home, but that doesn't make it easier. I'm ready for food and a nap, but I know I must stay up. I've taken too many naps lately and need to stop before I ruin my sleep schedule. I sit down in my room, pull out the paperwork I need for the training, and work on it. I'm not working for very long when my mom walks in and jumps onto my bed. She's very smiley, and it's kinda weird for me because she never smiled this much when I was growing up. Hey, Mom? That good. I ask her while smiling down at her. Yes, I'm really happy. We started to plan out mate ceremony, and he's gonna introduce me to the pack as their female alpha in 2 days. We don't want to have to wait too long, so the ceremony will be in 3 days, and then the alpha-female ceremony 2 days after that. So when is the human wedding? I ask, adjusting my reading glasses. We haven't discussed it yet. We got most of the details for the other 3 things done today, but that's something that we'll have to discuss tomorrow. Sounds good. I have a meeting with Axe tomorrow, and you should probably call Liam and Lily and have them prepare our stuff. I don't think that we will be able to go out there to get it. You know how much mates hate being away from each other. I highly doubt he can get away from alpha duties for long enough to go with us to pack up. He may be able to because we get a honeymoon. I think he'd like to see Oregon, but again, we'll have to discuss that tomorrow. Sounds good. I just finished the last of the paperwork. Would you like to go hang out in the living room with the ladies? Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to go change first. I smell like fish. I'll see you down there. I have to drop this off with Axe first, so I'll see you down there. I gather the paperwork together and walk down to his office, not bothering to change from my Spanx and tank top. They're both pretty modest, so I wasn't worried. I knock on his office door, and it only takes a minute for him to answer. I walk in, and he's sitting at his desk with his own reading glasses on, and he barely looks up at me before looking back down. He then does a double take when he sees that it's me. Hey, babe, how are you doing? He asks and drops everything that he's doing. Good. I just came to drop off the paperwork for the day and tell you that we can reveal the fact that we are mates. Really? He asks with an overwhelming amount of hope in his eyes. Yep. My mom and dad are going to announce that she is the alpha female in 2 days. In 3 days, they'll have their mate ceremony, and then the alpha ceremony is a few days after that. I don't want the attention to be off my mom during her big time, but I don't want to wait. So with your permission, I would like to tell my mother tonight. Her reaction will give me a better idea of planning. I'd say that's more than fair. I just want you to be happy. I just want you. I don't want to wait anymore. It's killing me not being able to be with you. And I hate keeping secrets. I say, and he pulls me into his arms. I get you forever. I can wait a little while longer if it means that your mom is happy. She's a big part of your life, and I don't want you to think that you have to hide or make our relationship public just because of me. I'll always be ready for you. I love you for that. If you want to tell your family and team tomorrow, we can. I'll tell my mom early in the morning and we can gather them at lunch. I really don't mind. I would absolutely love that idea. But not as much as I love you, he says and places the smallest kiss on the tip of my nose. I remember one of his unwinding me from him so that I could go downstairs and see my mother. I am fortunate to have gotten this man as my life partner. Chapter 20, Cassie's POV. My mom and I returned to my room after dinner and sat on my bed. My mom had a perpetual smile, and I had no idea what my next move would do to that smile. Mama? I ask in a gentle voice, unsure of how to approach the subject. Yes, baby girl? I have something to tell you. You know that you can tell me anything, baby girl. I found my mate early on in our trip. I wanted you to be focused on your dad and brother and then Cole, so I didn't tell you. Now that everything is settled and you are planning your ceremonies, I feel more ready to publicly accept him. Well, who is it, baby? Alpha Axe. We have accepted our bond in words in front of the Luna, but we kept in private because initially, I wanted to be able to focus just on him, but now I don't want to hide it from anybody anymore. I love him and I don't want to hide it, but I don't want to steal your thunder. My love, tell the world. Don't hide your mate. I understand why you would, but you shouldn't. As for stealing my thunder, I will have my thunder in Cole's pack. You will have your thunder in this pack. Be happy. Live your life, she says with the most gentle smile I have ever seen on my mother as she moves a strand of my hair out of my face. Go to him. Him being so close and still so far had to be hard for the two of you. I have no problem with you two sleeping in the same room. As long as it is just sleeping. I don't need to be a grandmother just yet. Of course, Mom. I get up, kiss her head, and then walk to the bathroom to change into pajamas. After I'm done, I walk down the hall and stop in front of his door. I hesitantly raise my fist and knock on his door. Come in, the sleepy voice of my mate mumbled. I opened the door, and when I walked in, I was almost completely overwhelmed by his amazing scent. He must have smelled my scent because he looked up very sleepy and said my name. Cassie? Baby, what's up? My mom took the news very well. She was also concerned that we were hurting or not resting as well being apart. She insisted that we sleep in the same room. Strictly sleep, that is. She doesn't want to be a grandmother just yet. I say with a smile from the end of his four-poster bed. Well, then why are you still over there? Come here, I'm tired and want snuggles. He says, rolling over and lifting the blankets on the other side of the bed. I walked over and lay under the blankets, and he pulled me into his arms. I snuggled my head into his neck and sighed in contentment. It took very little time to fall into a deep and restful sleep. When we awoke the next morning, we couldn't help but lie in each other's arms in peace. When we finally did get up, I went to my room to get dressed. Since it wasn't my day to train today, I surprised everyone and put on a dress. But if I'm going to wear a dress, then there is no way I am wearing shoes. The dress I chose has a red plaid skirt and no sleeves because it's hot out here. I put on my favorite ring that my uncle got for my mother when they were younger, and an anklet I got shortly before we left Oregon. I throw my hair in a ponytail and walk downstairs. I look up as I make it to the bottom of the stairs and see Axe talking to his mother with a smile on his face. I see him wearing a shirt that looks like my dress, a simple pair of jeans and no shoes. We have unintentionally matched. His hair is wet and messy, obviously clean but unstyled. His sleeves are rolled up, and can I say that my mate has some sexy forearms? The marking on his forearm comes from being an alpha, which shows in his sleeves being rolled up. Very sexy indeed. Well, don't you two look adorable? Did you plan this? His mother asks as she looks at the two of us. I have a feeling that she's suspicious about us after this, but we plan on telling her in a few minutes, so I'm not too worried. Hey, Mom, why don't we sit and have breakfast? I have a pretty big announcement, he says, guiding his mother to the table. Most of the usual people are already there. The only one missing is Grandpa Whiskey, who already knows the announcement. We all sit down in the spots that have become somewhat assigned since the first day. Whiskey walks in and sits down in his chair before looking at his grandson and then at me, before looking slightly more awake. Oh, we're doing that now? Well, go on then, son, he says once he realizes what's going on. All right, I have a pretty big announcement to make, he says before pausing to take a deep breath. Cassie is my mate. We've known since I got back from my trip after their arrival, but she wanted to be able to focus strictly on us. Now that her mother is happy, she can. So, I present to you your future alpha female. His mother stands and comes to my seat, pulling me up and hugging me. His sister almost squeals and stands to start jumping up and down. The boys all congratulate him, and my mom walks over to him, probably to threaten him. Wait, so did you all plan the outfits for this? His sister says, her thick southern drawl coming through. No, that was just convenient, I say with a chuckle. So, when should I expect grandbabies? His mother says, looking between the two of us. Not for a little while. Although a time frame isn't something we've discussed. I suppose it's mostly up to the Luna, I say with a smile. Well, I'm glad that you two found each other, his sister says before going back to her seat. All right, now that that is out of the way, let's eat, Whiskey says while grabbing the plate of bacon. We all laugh and enjoy a wonderfully cooked breakfast among friends and family. Chapter 21 Axe's POV, watching the women I love interacting with my family is one of the best feelings in the world. I can't help but smile as my family tries to get to know her better, and she takes the interrogation in stride. She is truly the best thing to happen to me in a while. I can't wait to start our lives together. A call interrupts my musings. I excuse myself and walk into the next room to hear what the caller has to say. It's my beta, with news of an attack on the west border. I tell my family about it, and Cassie stands up to join me. Are you going to go check, or are you leaving it to your beta? I'm going. Then I'm going with you. Okay. I don't think there's many, but we'll need to hurry. Can you run in that? Doesn't matter. I'll shift. Let's go then. We shift into our wolf forms and run towards the west border, where 4 angry rouges await. My beta and some warriors are holding them off, but I'm more worried about the 3 other rouges being guarded by a 5th angry rouge. The 3 other rouges are smaller and look terrified. It almost looks like a mother and her 2 children. The lead angry wolf steps behind a tree and shifts, throwing on a pair of pants. I want to see my grandchild, the man said. He was older, about the same age as Whiskey. After shifting, I walked behind another tree and threw on a pair of pants. I need some basic information before I can tell you anything about your granddaughter. Your name for starters would be great. And while you're at it, get your guard dogs off the others that you have trapped. I say with authority in my voice. My name is Henri Yamin. My son was killed for loving his mate. I think you have the wrong pack. I say. A moment later, Cassie speaks, shocking me because I didn't notice her shift. She's wearing one of my shirts, which comes down to her mid-thigh. What was your son's name? And his mate's? Yamin. I don't know her name. They met in secret, for she was betrothed. They were preparing to run away when they were caught. He was killed. And she was pregnant. I want to meet the child she had. My mate is right, you do have the wrong pack. This is not the one that killed your son, and I greatly apologize for the grief you must have experienced. But I may know of your granddaughter. How long ago was this? Cassie says with a look of sorrow on her face. It was almost 40 years ago. If it is not your fault, please, child, don't apologize. Your breath is wasted in an apology that isn't yours to make. How can you help me? If you would like to follow us to the main office, we can discuss more there. Let us get the others to the infirmary and call off the guard dogs. Boys, you can go. Let the woman go. The boys do as he says, and he looks at me for permission to enter the territory. He walks next to us and has us lead the way when granted. We get to the infirmary, and the warriors take the lady and her pups in while my mate, my beta, and I take Orny to my office. When we get there, I walk over to my chair and sit down, and Cassie sits on the edge of my knee. James, my beta, stands in the corner, ready to attack should he have to. What do you know of my grandchild? He commands more than he asks. His voice holds no power, and I believe there is no malice. Just desperation. I know someone with a very similar story. A lady I'm very close to was recently told that her mother was betrothed to a man she knew as her father, but found her mate. Her mother's father was a cruel man and killed her mate when he found out she was sneaking out to see him. After that, her and her betrothed were married quickly after. She never revealed to her father that she was pregnant until after the marriage, so her father just thought it was her husband's. She had my friend and one other child, a son, and when my friend was 18, she kicked her out. It was only recently that my friend's mother divorced her husband and left. The women had verbally abused my friend because she looked like her mate. It was a harsh reminder for her. He is silent momentarily and then responds with a slight strain in his voice. Could I meet your friend? I'll know if she is my son's daughter. It is worth the shot. I'll call her down here. My mate says with a sympathetic look on her face. While she mind-links her mother, I ask some questions that have bothered me slightly. Why did you wait so long? Why wait almost 40 years to look for your grandchild? I wanted to look sooner, but I'm a rouge. I had a small pack to look after and I was, honestly, too grief-stricken. I almost failed to lead my pack. I was in no place to look for my grandchild. I wasn't mentally stable enough to do anything. I had already lost my mate, and then the only piece of her I had left died, and I was broken. Then for your sake, I hope this is your grandchild. I can't imagine losing Cassie. It's a fate worse than death. Cassie, what's going on? We've talked about this. You can't do the vague mind links. Ari says as she walks into the office without knocking. I imagine that was part of the vague instructions my beautiful mate left for her. One stands up and turns to look at her, and I can tell by the slight shaking that his eyes are watering. Cassie, who's this? This is Henri Amin. You look so much like him. And her. He whispers, but we all hear. Who? Cassie asks in an almost whisper to herself. My son and mate. They were both taken from me at separate times. I'm your grandfather. How? You say I look like your son, but I can't confirm that. My biological father was killed before I was born. My son was killed for loving his mate because she was betrothed. We have a very valid reason to believe that I'm your biological granddaughter. I look just like him. And he looked just like my mate. Would you be opposed to a DNA test? I have no source of reference and I've been burnt too many times. I understand. I would not be opposed. Cassie, would you text your father and ask him to meet me here? I need my mate with me. Your mate? Cassie is your stepdaughter? No, she's my daughter. I gave birth to her. What would make you think she wasn't? She only ever called you my friend. I'm sure that you can understand what I'm talking about. Yes, I can. It's Cassie's way of taking precaution, so I apologize for her. I would want to protect you too. And I'm sorry I couldn't before now. They continue conversing, and after a couple of minutes, Cole walks in and kisses his mate on the head. They fill him in on the morning events, including Cassie and me being mates, to which he looks surprised. He realizes he would be stupid to oppose and threatens me before returning to his mate, but it's good to see him trying to be a father. We scheduled the blood test, and everyone left except for Cassie, who sat on my desk. I just realized she's still in my shirt, so I'd like to link someone to bring her some proper clothes. Have I mentioned how beautiful my mate is? Because she is a goddess. I would say she was Luna herself if I didn't know any better. She is definitely a gift from the Luna, and I couldn't have asked for a better mate. How do I deserve her? Chapter 22. Cassie's POV. To say that meeting my great-grandfather was a shock would be an understatement. I can't say that I'm upset about it, but at the same time, I can't help but be wary. I didn't feel any untruth come from him, but that doesn't mean there wasn't any. My instincts are good, but they aren't perfect. As I sit here going over coronation things with my soon-to-be mother-in-law, I can't help but be slightly suspicious of the man. My mother trusted him, and she was hardly ever wrong, but the fact that he was in grief for so long and that he lost his mate is making me wary. When a male wolf loses his mate, he can go feral. It's shocking that he hasn't yet. I zoned back into the conversation around me to hear my future mother-in-law and sister-in-law talking about colors. I told them that I only wanted to choose the dress and didn't care about the other things. They quickly agreed and took over without a second thought. So here I sit, not paying attention to what will essentially be my wedding. Though I never thought I would get married. Suddenly, Cass and Emily snap the books closed, and we hear footsteps and smell the boys. They're coming in from working outside on yard maintenance and stick, but their mates scent covers that pretty well. I feel sorry for Emily since all she can smell is the nasty scent of sweaty males. I give her a sympathetic look, and she gives me a thankful smile as my mate comes to stand behind me. He leans on my shoulders and looks at his family with a gentle smile. Y'all stink, and I'm upset that I'm the only one who has to smell it. Emily says and gets up to walk away. Well, that was easy. So, what were y'all talking about? Wedding stuff. His mom answers. Give the kids a break then. How about you two go on a date? I know that neither of you really care about the details of the wedding, so go hang out. They need some time to get to know each other more. I suppose you're right. Well then, you guys can go, but I swear, son, if you don't shower, I will ground you. Grown alpha or not. His mother said as she stood up and followed her husband up the stairs. Well, you heard the women. Come on, you can wait in my room while I shower. Snoop, for all I care, we're mates, so I have nothing to hide. He says, leading me up the stairs to his room. He gathers his clothes and then goes to his ensuite to shower while I lie on his bed and read on my phone. It doesn't take long for him to come out of the bathroom with a pair of sleep pants. I know they came from Walmart because I have the same pants. They're a pair of black pants with the bat symbol on them. Simple and comfortable. I can't help but smile at this and see him smile at me with confusion. I wave it off, and he jumps onto the bed next to me, settling in and facing me so we are lying like a cheesy couple from a teen book. So, get to know each other? He asks, and I nod. How many boyfriends have you had? None. I was always too busy to even consider having a relationship, and even if I wasn't interested in anyone until I saw your eyes, and then I was only interested in you. What about you? I tried when I was like 5, but then Mom explained to me what a mate was and I was done trying with anyone who wasn't my mate. And then I saw your eyes and knew I was done for. Haven't really thought about much besides you and work since then. This pleases me. I say with a small smile. I'm glad. Being around you pleases me. He says with a laugh and a breathtaking smile. Alright, that was just cheesy. You love it. I love you. This is just a part of you that I'm stuck with. It's part of the charm. I'm 100% sure that you wouldn't trade it for anything else. Why would I? You're perfect for me and there's nothing wrong with you. Therefore, nothing to trade or change. Now who's being cheesy? It's part of the charm. I say, standing and going to the kitchen. That's my line. He shouts after me. I can hear the smile in his voice, and I grab an apple for him and me, along with some cheese and jerky, because why the heck not? I return to the room and see him on his phone. I walk up behind him and wrap my arms around him, the stress on his face becoming obvious. Okay, we'll be there soon. Thank you for letting me know. Yes, I'll let her know. See you soon. And with that, he ends the call. Cole's pack was attacked. They don't know why, and it was very sudden. His pack mainly injured no one, but he still wants us to come down. Your mom is okay, and Cole only has a scratch, but he wouldn't say how big it is. They want us down there. Okay, let me put on some actual clothes and we can head down. What's wrong with the clothes you're wearing? If you're going in pajamas, I am too. Besides, these jeans are constrictive and I'm tired of wearing them. I mean, fair enough. All right, I'll tell everyone and you change into PJs. When we get back, we'll take a sleep. Based on that sentence, you need a sleep. Fight me. I had a long day. Let's go doofus. I have no doubt that Cole was sparing us details. Chapter 23 Cassie's POV. The drive to Cole's pack wasn't something I stressed about. Even when I saw the carnage that was left behind after the attack, I trusted Cole when he said no one was hurt. I saw my mom waiting on the doorstep, pacing, and that was when I got stressed. Still, I wouldn't show it because Mom needed a shoulder. Mom, what's wrong? Cole is in the infirmary, and I don't want to stress him out because the cut on his arm is pretty bad. He told us it wasn't that bad. How are you? I'm fine, just a bump on my head. The cut he got required stitches, but he refused help until he saw that his pack was fine. Sweetie, he almost passed out from the blood loss before he went back. Well then, let's go check on him. I'll walk back with you. Axel, can you come with us? I know Cole wanted to talk to you about something. Of course, Ari. We all walk back and see that only minor injuries are being taken care of. When we get back to the area with doctors running around like headless chickens, we see Cole on a gurney with an arm over his eyes and his shirt off, showing a scratch that goes the length of his arm. It's currently stitched up because werewolf healing wouldn't heal it quickly enough. The stitches will come out in a day or two, but they will have to stay in and painkillers won't do jack, so Cole is in obvious pain. Oh, Cole, how are you doing? I'm fine, my love. Really? How are you? Headache? Are you cold? Hungry or thirsty? Can I get you anything? Cole asks, the concern evident on his face. Despite his apparent injury, he earns more respect for worrying about my mother. Cole, let me worry about you. You're the one who stopped people from getting major injuries, and you suffered the worst. Stop fretting about me and let me fret about you. I would suffer worse for you. How are you kids? We're fine, Cole. Do you know why you were attacked? There were a couple of Rouges that had teamed up in their last bout with Sanity and decided to attack. There were 3 of them and 80 of us present at the time, but one was slightly more sane. The other 2 turned on each other and killed each other, but the leader went for me to try and win a pack. He lost his humanity at the last minute and lost his life. We burnt the bodies. So, it was a one-off kind of thing? We shouldn't have to worry about another targeted attack? Axel asks, wrapping his arms around me. No, it was 3 crazy rogues. You'll be the first I tell should I suspect different. Now why don't you 2 lovely ladies take a walk and get something to eat while I talk to this young man? Cassie, your mother hasn't had dinner yet. Have your little man talk. Babe, what do you want to eat? I'll bring you something. I ask Axel. I'll have whatever you're having. I'm not picky. He kisses my forehead and Mom, and I silently approach the kitchen. Granted, the silence doesn't last. He treats you right. Mom and I say at the same time. We both chuckle and smile at each other. I'm glad Cole is trying. He makes you happy and treats you like you should have been years ago. I wish you the best in your relationship. Ditto, my love. We gather food and take it back to the boys, who are conversing about Axel treating me right and taking care of me properly. I can't help but laugh a little, but I guess Cole would know. I smiled a little at him, giving him the dad speech, but interrupted him with food. They both light up at the sight of food. We all eat in relative silence, and then Mom sends us home, saying she's staying with Cole for the night. Holding hands, we return to the car and leave the territory. We give a swift update to the pack and then head up to bed. We sleep side by side in our matching pajamas.
Chapter 24. Cassie's POV. As I stood beside my mother, who was sitting in front of a vanity getting her makeup done, I couldn't help but feel the joy that I felt. My mother was happy, getting married and mated, and would be treated like the queen she was. She looks incredibly nervous, but you can see that she's happy nonetheless. After her makeup and hair are done, she stands and starts to pace around the room, the blue dress she's wearing trailing behind in an elegant sweep. With her hair in its updo and her makeup kept simple, it was weird to see. I've never seen my mother this stressed out or this dressed up. She is stunning now. If I could get her to calm down before she sweats her makeup off. Mom. Calm down. You're stressing over nothing. This man loves you and would die for you at any moment. I say and walk over to her, sitting her on the couch in the reserved room. I know. It's just a big change. I went from it just being the 2 of us on our own, and now we're going to farther than we've ever been, and you're growing up so fast. It's all happening so quickly, and I just don't know how to handle it. With your head held high and the grace of a queen. I say and smile at her. That's what you told me while I was growing up. When life was tough, you hold your head high and walk with the grace of a queen. Be a pineapple. Stand tall, wear a crown, and be sweet inside and dangerous outside. It's not easy. You of all people should know that. It's time to grow up. You get a second chance at love. One that you're willing to take. Besides, it's not like I'm going very far. You'll still be able to visit often and meet your grandchildren when we finally have them. But for now, focus on going out there and becoming who the Luna above meant for you to be. I say and kiss her on her head. I'm the one who's supposed to give you this talk on the day of your wedding, she says, and we both chuckle. Well, you can give it to me later today. I can't believe I'm getting married. And you're making me wear a dress. I can, however, believe that you aren't wearing white for your own wedding. That isn't shocking in the least. I've never been a fan of maintaining tradition. Besides, something blue is on the list, so it counts. She takes a deep breath, and her father knocks on the door. You look amazing. I'm not ready to give you away yet. I just got you back, he says with tears as he walks over to his daughter. My uncle remains in the doorway, letting the two of them have their moment before also approaching my mother. He looks at me while he waits. You look nice. I like how you choose to wear pants to a wedding. I'm being genuine about that too, by the way. He says. I think he's still nervous about being around me, not quite knowing how to be an uncle. Mom and I agreed that if I have to wear a dress later, she's okay with me not wearing one now. Besides, she's not a fan of tradition. I say and smile at him. He smiles in return and goes to hug his older sister. You look magnificent, sis. I'm sure you'll be a wonderful alpha female. Dad, are you ready? Mom. It's time. I say and hug her. She takes a deep breath and the arms of her brother and father as the music begins. We're starting as a human wedding so that Cole can introduce his wife as the Pax Alpha female. He's a little bit excited, in case you couldn't tell. She takes a deep breath, and the music begins as she turns the corner to the chapel. I walk behind her and carry the train of her veil, watching Cole take a deep breath and slowly start crying as she walks down the aisle. He's got a giant smile on his face, and you can see the pride that shines in his eyes as his blushing bride walks towards him forever. I know that my own mother wears a smile as she walks towards the forever that the Luna above promised her. The sun shining through the chapel's large windows proves that the Luna is pleased with this union. We make it to the front, and the priest begins the ceremony. We are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Cole Peck and Ari Mora. Who is it that gives her to this man? The priest begins. Her daughter, brother, and I. Grandpa says with tears in his eyes. Each of the boys kisses her cheeks and hands her over to the man of her dreams. The words that will be spoken here today are significant, though they are not what join these two. Nor is it this ceremony. For we are not here to mark the start of a relationship but to recognize a bond that already exists. Cole Peck and Ari Mora have already joined themselves together, and we have gathered to bear witness to the love that has grown between them. We are here to witness their statement of love and commitment. This is an act as ancient as the human race and, at the same time, as new as each morning. For it speaks of the past and hopes for the future, of the life of the individual and the existence of the community. Marriage is a going forth. A giving up of one way in search of a greater fulfillment than either can achieve alone, risking what they are for what they might be. Cole and Ari, do you come with joy and anticipation to this moment when you will be legally joined in marriage? Do you pledge to treat each other with kindness, respect and compassion, to listen to each other and to speak to each other with honesty, today and always? We do. They reply at the same time. You have come to love each other deeply and sincerely. That love has given you the desire to unite in marriage and to establish a home together. In this ceremony you are dedicating yourselves to give happiness and well-being, each to the other. Your marriage is an act of trust. It must not be based on the vain hope of what the other will do or will not do, might become or might not become. It must be based on the firm belief in your own individual worth and that of the other. Your pledge today is an expression of your devotion. The words spoken in this ceremony will validate your marriage only if your love and commitment to one another are strong enough to sustain it. Today you announce your love for each other in the presence of families and friends. We rejoice with you and we wish you well. Cole Peck and Ari Mora, as you have come here freely to give yourselves in marriage, do you now promise that you will love and honor each other as husband and wife? We do. Cole, repeat after me. I, your name, take you, Ari Mora, to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until the end of our days. I, Cole Peck, take you, Ari Mora, to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until the end of our days. He says with his eyes full of love and his voice cracking. Ari, repeat after me. I, your name, take you, Cole Peck, to be my husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until the end of our days. I, Ari Mora, take you, Cole Peck, to be my husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. To love and to cherish, until the end of our days. Tears of joy stream down her face as she smiles at him. May I have the rings, he says, and I bring them both forward, handing them to Mom and Dad. The ring is the symbol of the unbroken circle of love. Love freely given has no beginning and no end. Love freely given has no giver and no receiver, for each is the giver and each is the receiver. May your rings always call to mind the freedom and the power of this love. Cole, you may exchange the ring. I give you this ring as a sign of my love and commitment to you until death do us part, he says, tears streaming down his cheeks and a cheese-eating grin on his face. Ari, you may exchange the ring. I give you this ring as a sign of my love and commitment to you till death do us part. I know I present you, man and wife. You may kiss the okay, then. The priest says in shock as Mom and Dad meet in the middle for a kiss before he can finish his sentence. He gives them a gentle smile as they pull apart and turn towards the audience. Now presenting, for the first time ever, Mr. and Mrs. Cole Peck. The crowd cheers, and the priest steps to the side. The Peck elder steps up and takes his place. Mom and Dad turn back to face him, and both kneel. We have just witnessed the union of our alpha to his mate. As they kneel before our Peck, are there any who object to Ari Peck becoming our alpha female? Silence spreads throughout the crowd in an instant, and after a moment, the elder continues. Ari Peck. Rise. Do you willingly take on the role of alpha female and all the responsibilities that come with the title? Do you swear to protect the pack at all cost, to love the pack and its alpha, and to rise against the struggles to be the best alpha female you are capable of being? I swear to it. Mom says, raising her head to look the elder in the eye so that he can see no signs of a lie in her eyes. Cassie, will you bring forth the blade? I do, and present the blade to the elder. Ari Peck, raise your hand. With this blade, I tie you to the Black Moon Pack of Tennessee. All rise. He says after pricking my mother's finger and letting the knife soak the blood, connecting her to the pack. Dad turns towards her after being permitted to stand with the rest of the pack and kisses the wound on her finger. They turn towards the crowd, applauding, and run towards the church's exit in the classic wedding way.
Chapter 25 Cassie's POV. The time is quickly approaching. I'm sitting in my room at the Pack house, putting on the dress I must wear for my ceremonies. We decided at the last minute not to have a wedding but to have Dad walk me down the aisle. We want to be together and can have a big wedding ceremony later, if we want to. We signed a marriage certificate, and all of that is being taken care of by the Justice of the Peace. As for my dad walking me down the aisle, I decided to make an effort since he was. As long as he treats my mom right, we won't have problems. We also decided to have vows and say them on our own in private. I don't know if I've ever been this excited about something. Even the thought of meeting my mate wasn't this exciting. Now, I'm sitting in a room surrounded by my mate's family and my newly mated mother as we get me ready for my own alpha female ceremony. All right, dear. It's time to put on your dress, Cassandra says, pulling the garment bag out of the closet. The dress is a traditional style worn for a crowning ceremony. It was also as close to a wedding dress as my parents would be seeing me in for a little while. I breathe deeply as Cass tightens the corset in the dress and resists the urge to run my fingers through my hair. I'm not used to it being down and in my face, so this is really weird. I want you all to know that I'm truly grateful for all that y'all are doing for me and all you have done for my mother and me. I couldn't ask for a better family to join. Thank you, I say to the beautiful women around me. They all look like they're about to cry. I can't help but panic at the looks on their faces. Oh, sweetheart, we are so happy our boy has you. You are beautiful inside and out and ma buker cat alaturi family, she says. Mom, you switched languages, Emily says, laying a hand on her mother's shoulder. It's fine. I speak Romanian. I learned it after meeting Whiskey and hearing him speak the language. I was instantly enchanted. I say with a slight smile. I am also glad to be joining the family. All right. It's almost time, so remember to speak loudly and calmly and don't touch your hair. Your dad should be here in a minute to walk you down the aisle and give you away, and then the ceremony will commence. Mom, I know how this works. I planned yours and mine and helped Alpha Lily with hers. I know how this is going to go, Mom, so take a deep breath and relax. We've got this. I say as there's a knock on the door. Are you ready to go, Cass? Cole asks as he walks into the room. He looks at me, and his breath catches in his throat. You look gorgeous. It breaks my heart that I wasn't there to see you become the amazing young woman that you have become. I am extremely happy that you have allowed me to walk you towards your future. I smile gently at him and take a deep breath before walking towards him. We loop our arms together, and the ladies in the room run to their seats and sit, waiting for us to walk down the aisle. The area behind the pack house looks absolutely gorgeous. They put together a fabric canopy and had lights strung between the fabric to give it a glow. That was situated in front of the woods where the pack would run tonight at midnight. The chairs were simple folding chairs and had stumps with vases of yellow daisies on them. Guests filled the seats from both our pack and Cole's pack together, as well as some of the neighboring alphas who could make it away from their packs for the event. Everyone was smiling, and some people were taking pictures of my father and me as we walked down the aisle. At the very end of the never-ending aisle was my handsome husband. He was looking at me with complete adoration in his eyes. They glistened, and I couldn't help but fall more and more in love with his mismatched eyes. The way the light shines on them is mesmerizing, and I almost don't notice that we've made it to the front. My father kisses my hands and gives them to my husband during the ceremony. Hidden Moon, Whiskey says, followed by cheers from our pack members. He smiles at the crowd, and Axe and I smile at each other. We stand today before our alpha, Axtergost, and his mate, Cassie Mora, as they join themselves in a union before God and the Luna above. Cassie, do you swear, before God, the Luna above, and all of these witnesses to love, cherish, and protect Axe and this pack with everything in you till death are you taken? I swear it in front of God, the Luna above, and all of these witnesses. Axe, the blood knife. My love hands his grandfather the ceremonial knife, and the incision is made in both of our hands. We join them, and a glow surrounds us, signifying that Luna is pleased. Whiskey smiles at the two of us. Hidden Moon of North Carolina, I present to you your alpha pair. Shouts surround us as we look deeply into each other's eyes, and Axe asks me a fundamental question. May I kiss you, my love? I think you'd better, dearest husband. Epilogue Cassie's POV. My love, have I mentioned how beautiful you are? Both inside and out. It amazes me more and more every day. My charming husband says, carrying me to our room in bridal style. An after-party lasted about an hour, but now we're on our way to say our vows. We chose to do it in private because we agreed that it was for our ears and those of the goddess, should she choose to listen. You have mentioned it, but you have never given me a chance to tell you just how amazing you are in everything you do. You are a young alpha who is able to focus on your studies and your duties while keeping up with your family. You are most certainly more magnificent than I say, and I kiss him as he lies to me on the bed. He lies beside me, and we look at each other momentarily. Te iubesk my multiple decat viata. Tu esti totul meu absolu si nu and putut sir unpartenoi my bun. Tu esti lumina mea in inteneric motivul meu pentru care triesc. Nu mias dori nimic my multiple decat sa cres unviter cu tine. Vitoral p care zida la proictat. Tu esti totul pentru mine. He says and leans his forehead into mine and gently kisses my nose. Esti cel my bun look to care me sa in tamplat vria data. De asamenia, nu em putitsir unpartenar my bun. Esti tot si em nevoi. Esti by necuventaria mea degazada si inima mea. Zida cu siguranta ma by necuvantat can me ta dat p tine. I say with a gentle smile. He looks at me with adoration in his eyes and kisses me like there's no tomorrow. How about we start on those 7 kids? He says, and I can't help but agree. 6 months later, are we going to go visit your parents today? My husband asks as he finishes getting dressed. Yeah, Mom called earlier and told me she has some news to share. We have some too, I suppose. We can tell them when we see later today. Are you ready to go? Yes. You look absolutely marvelous, darling. May I? He says, and I give him a quick kiss. After 6 months of marriage, he still asks before he kisses me every time. Ditto, my love, I say after our brief kiss. I find myself falling more and more for him every day, and even when I think I can't fall any more in love, he does something stupid, and all I can think is, yep, that's mine. Let's be on our way. We should do a family dinner soon. It'd be nice to have the family together again. But do we have a table big enough for all the family? My grandparents, that's 4, my parents and yours, that makes 8. Whiskey makes 9. Your 2 brothers, your sister, my uncle, and the 2 of us. Plus the betas and gammas and any mates that I didn't think to account for. Do we have a table to seat upwards of 20 people? We'll make it a picnic. I'm not sure that your mother's grandfather will be able to handle too much time indoors. Him being a free spirit and all. I know that whiskey won't last too long inside. He would lose his mind with that many people in one room. Agreed. All right, we can arrange for a picnic, but I would like it to be for both packs to be completely welcome. They count as family too. Sounds good. We'll arrange it for the end of the month? Do you think that that works for everyone? Only one way to find out. Come on, I don't want to be late. The drive to the meeting place, a cafe on the mutual ground in the nearby city, took no time at all. We saw Mom and Cole looking excitedly at each other. They sat on the patio area, enjoying the breeze from the surprisingly warm day. Cole saw us approaching first and stood to greet us. Mom followed suit, looking extremely joyous and glowing. Cassie, it's been too long. My mom says and throws her arms around my neck, nearly choking me in the process. Mom, it's been about a week. We meet for lunch once a week. I say and hug her around her waist. I know, but it's been a long week. Okay, sit. We have much to discuss. Cassie, Axe, it's good to see you two again. You too, Cole, Axe says as we sit. I nod to Cole, still switching between which name I use for him. I haven't ever had a father, so getting used to the name takes a while. Okay, we have some really big and really surprising news, Mom says and smiles at Cole. He lovingly grins back in response. We're pregnant. They both look on the verge of tears, but the smiles tell me they're happy tears. Mom, I'm so happy for you. Thank you, my love. I didn't think this would or even could happen. We get the chance to parent again. Oh, I could weep. As she said this, tears started streaming down her face, and Cole immediately wrapped her up in a comforting hug. The 2 of them are at peace at this moment. They both deserve this, and I couldn't be happier for them. Well, Ari, we also have news on this joyous occasion, my husband says and looks at me. We both smile at each other and then turn to my parents. We're also pregnant.